On, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again. Week number 3 of Are the Scientific Miracles Debunked when it comes to the Quran? Has it been debunked or has it not? Now, it's crazy. The first week, we actually had a bunch of Muslims, a little Brady bunch, that said, no, 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 no. There actually are scientific miracles in the Quran, and you can still use it. Ali Dawah was making a mistake, basically. But then week 2, we had the bunch of Muslims that was like, yeah, like this is not a good argument to use. So last week we had a completely different feel than the first week. So I'm really curious to see what we're going to see. I got Life in the building from Life DTD. We have Swagasaurus Rex, other than David Wood in the building, Apologetics Roadshow. And then we also have Thaddeus from Reason Answers in the building. What's going on, gentlemen? Talk to us. What y'all think we're going to find today?
I just wanted to say something on behalf of all Muslims. This goes back to the 70s. That's where you had Maurice Bucaille, and he started spreading this lie about scientific miracles in the Quran. And then other people ran with that and started spreading it. And then eventually you get to Ahmed Deedat and Zakir Naik, and they're spreading this. And anyone who's looking at what they're claiming about the Quran and who's actually read the Quran knew that this was complete nonsense. They knew they were just completely ripping verses out of context. They knew they were distorting the Quran, distorting science. We knew it was complete deception. We knew it was, as Ali Dawah would eventually admit, absolute nonsense. We knew it. And for a couple of decades, we tell Muslims, guys, these guys are lying to you. Guys, these guys are lying to you. They're lying to you. They're lying to you. And it was, oh, how dare you? You're just jealous of the scientific miracles and so on. And then, lo and behold, after all these years, even their own apologists, their own Dawah guys come out and say, okay, it was all nonsense. It was all a lie. Yeah. And so I would just like to, on behalf of all Muslims, I would like to thank us on behalf of you for giving you accurate information, which you rejected and called us names for, but you eventually listened. So the point is, don't thank Ali Dawah, thank us.
Thank us. We're the ones who inspired Ali Dawah to come out with this truth, with this fact, and gave him the courage to come out publicly and say that this mess was a farce, that these claims of the scientific miracles is crap. All right? He got it from us. We started it. We pioneered this. And so he's our son, and we're proud of him. And we are proud of that. We are. That is, what you think we're going to see today?
Yeah, well, you never know. Sometimes you get Muslims willing to defend their religion, but usually you don't. Usually you just get Muslims who want to change the subject. Doesn't matter what your subject is. Even if you do a stream on the Trinity, they'll try to change it to something else, even though usually that's what they try to change it if you're on some other topic. So I don't think we're going to see too much argumentation, but I'm open to being proven wrong. Like Ali Dawah, I'm open to changing my mind on the scientific miracles. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, for sure, for sure. And so we have a super chat that says, I'd like to know how David Wood's son is doing. Someone wants to check up. David, you mind sharing that a little bit? Or
I don't know which son he's referring to.
All right, send another super chat and tell us what son you're referring to. Yeah, he'll let us know. But yeah, so everybody listening in, the link is in the description. No, it's not in the description. Sorry. The link is in the chat. I sent it already. Here it is again. If you are a Muslim, if you are a Muslim, this is for you. It's for you to come up and give us your position. Tell us whether or not Ali Dawah is correct that the scientific miracles, these claims of this argument for the Quran and for Islam has been debunked, or that he's full of crap and that there are scientific miracles that you can rely on that does substantiate the truth of the Quran, and you can use it to prove Islam to this day. To this day. All right? So there's the link. Moderators, please continuously put the link, share it throughout the stream. And if you're watching this, please do not forget to hit that like button, 434 that like button, so that the algorithm knows that we're live and we're doing this, okay? We already have somebody in the back. Let's see here. He says, I'm not joining, but I'll give you $30 super chat if you react to this live. Okay. So this is later on. Sig, man, no. I just said the Muslims. If you are Muslim, hit the link. Goodness gracious. What's wrong with these Christians? They can never listen. All right, we have James in the house. James, how are you? Is this the James that I know and love? Hello, James. You there? I think this is the James.
We got a mic, James. Get your mic hooked up. Got your settings adjusted.
Now?
What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep. Can you hear me?
A little quiet.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little quiet, James. Last time your mic was better.
Okay, let's see.
Try to turn it up a bit.
What kind of computer you using, James?
Windows Dell.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how
Let's see.
I only know Macs now.
Well, if you it should let's see if you do this. Are you looking at this at the StreamYard screen right now, James?
I am right now. Yes.
Okay. Do you see the options where it says settings?
Yes.
All right, click on settings.
Mm-hmm.
You should see an audio option. You see audio?
Yep.
I go to audio and then it should show mic volume. You should be able to turn that up.
Mic volume.
Oh, there
we go.
Shot right
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay.
There we go. What's going on, man? I miss you.
Oh man, it's rough since last time I've been on here.
You said it's been rough?
Well, yeah, I've actually been on a little spiritual journey since that last time we talked. But that's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, because I said a lot of things that I shouldn't have said on there because if you recall, I was up all night because I didn't expect you to respond. I shot out an email to you at 1:30 and you immediately respond. I wasn't expecting that. So I stayed up all night making talking points. So I was kind of delirious. But that's neither here nor there. But
it's all good, man. You know, I'm your friendly neighborhood apologist, man. And, you know, I let you know, Thaddeus and Swagasaurus Rex, they can handle all the big stuff, man. I'm in the neighborhood, you know.
Right.
I'm in the neighborhood. So okay. Well, I'm interested to see what you have to say, especially like we can have another one-on-one discussion and see where you feel like you said things you shouldn't have said. But to let you guys know, he's a Muslim. He's a Muslim, and you know, had a great conversation with him our last time we spoke. So yeah, we're talking about the scientific miracle. Have you been up to date about what's been going on with this whole fiasco about the scientific? Yeah, you seen what Ali Dawah said and all that?
Yes.
So yeah, tell me your thoughts, man. What do you think?
I agree and disagree with him. Okay. I agree that Muslims should not probably use that scientific miracles as a talking point to try to how can I say spread the religion to get people to accept it. But there are definitely some scientific and mathematical miracles in the Quran. That is without a doubt.
Okay, for sure. All right, so I'm gonna let you continue in just a second. There's somebody else in the back. Let me see. His name is Ultralag. I do not want to debate you. I just want you to read what I sent you. Is this are you a Muslim? Oh, on Facebook. Okay. Well, all right. Thank you. I'll check it out on Facebook. But guys, if you're not here to come up and talk about the discussion, please go ahead and make sure that you do not hit the link because it's not for you. It's for the Muslims to come up and give their position. All right. So my brothers, you guys heard what he said. He said that he agrees with Ali Dawah in one sense that it's not a good idea to use that as an argument. However, there are scientific truths in the Quran. What do you guys got to say about that?
Yeah. So can I ask you to clarify? So why wouldn't you use it as an argument if the science are there? Are you saying that it's nothing that would require miraculous knowledge? It's just like something that a human being could potentially guess? Because Ali Dawah is not saying that the science is wrong. He's just saying, well, he's saying two things. One, he's saying that the science might change. And two, he's saying that when you try to interpret the Quran in light of science, you might misinterpret the Quran.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely have to be careful with it. I mean, it's not. I mean, we're talking about religion here, so it's not anything that's, cut and dry. But there are some things that I think that are pretty much solid. For instance, without going with the scientific miracles first, let's just first talk about things like, would you all agree that Muhammad can neither read nor write?
No, I would disagree with that, actually.
You disagree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that was something that was universally accepted.
I'm willing to grant it for the purposes of your argument, because
I grant it for the purposes of argument. And when I'm talking, I usually grant it just because it's a standard Muslim claim. But there are hadiths on both sides of this issue. There are hadiths that make Muhammad sound like he was illiterate, and there are other hadiths that make it sound like he was not. So,
okay. Because I thought that was accepted.
So yeah, no, it's basically if it's being used in some sort, I'll grant it if we're just talking and Muslims say, but Muhammad was illiterate, and I'll say, okay, that's fine, and I'll proceed like that. But if it's being used as some sort of some part of an argument where there's no way to do this because he's illiterate, then it might come in there. But we're probably willing to grant. We're probably willing to grant for the sake of argument if you've got something that you can.
Well,
I
was saying, I was assuming it's hypothetically, if he were illiterate, either he was inspired by God or he's a super genius, because the things like day and night are mentioned equally, the same number of times throughout the Quran. If you count up the times the Arabic word day is in the Quran and night, they're the same. How many
times is that, by the way?
I don't know. I wish that's why I hate coming on without having to be prepared, because I actually can calculate that for you. Maybe I can get that later, but I don't know. I have done it. I have counted them before, but I don't have those numbers right now.
And the only reason that can easily verify. Yeah, the only reason I was asking is because not with all, but with certain of the arguments that are based on mathematical parallels and so on. Mm-hmm. When I've looked them up in the past, it turns out that they were like, for instance, there was a claim that the word day is used exactly 365 times in the Quran. So isn't it amazing that the word day is used 365 times when there are 365 days in a year, when the actual way they got that was they only used certain forms of the word day. So they say, we won't count the, whatever it was, we won't count the accusative case, and we won't count this, and we won't count plurals and so on. So they got to it, but it was kind of by some gymnastics. So I was more wondering, is it like every occurrence of the word day added up equals the, every occurrence of the word night, or are they only taking certain forms and so on? But yeah, you can always come back with that and let us know, because some of this
I admit I have debunked some things where I've seen that people actually were doing that type of cherry picking, choosing certain words and variations of them to make things add up. So those, of course, I wouldn't accept, but then other things I actually were able to verify. But one of the scientific things I believe that I don't think was known at the time of Muhammad, peace be upon him, is that iron is not made on the earth. It actually comes from the atmosphere. Have you ever heard that one?
Oh yeah.
No, it doesn't come from the atmosphere. It comes from iron. So iron takes a while to form in stars. Like at first, you've got hydrogen, then you've got hydrogen and helium and so on. And it takes a long time to get iron. But the earliest source of iron that we are familiar with historically is iron that came down in meteorites. So they're coming.
Well, yeah. So what David's trying to say is atmosphere is, we know the argument, but atmosphere is not what you want to say. You want to say outer space.
Well, it comes down because the Quran said it comes down from the heavens. So I'm just thinking, I say it's not formed on the earth, put it that way. And I don't think that was known at the time of 1400 years ago. I don't think that was known. Would you agree on that?
First, David?
No, we wouldn't agree with that at all. But yeah, this is good. And it's cool. We're all on friendly terms here.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, you want to go ahead? You want to go ahead and so there are a couple claims here.
Yeah, so there's multiple claims, multiple ways to address this particular one, as is usually the case, and the multiple different reasons. One, there's the idea that's unknown. Two, there's the idea that that's what the Quran's saying, and then then there's the possibility that human beings could conclude this on their own fairly easily. So let's just start with what the Quran says. So do you know the verse off the top of your head? If not,
not off the top of my head, no. Let me see if I can.
Okay, so no problem.
It's 5725, Thaddeus.
Yep, I was going to say no problem. I have that here. So yep, 5725. We have sent down our messengers with clear evidences and sent down with them the scripture and the balance that the people may maintain in justice. And we sent down iron, wherein is great military might and benefits for the people, and so that Allah may make evident those who support him and his messengers on scene. So what do you see just in this verse? Do you see that Allah only sent down iron?
Only sent down iron? What do you mean only?
Like, is that the only thing in the Quran that's being described as being sent down?
Read it. Yeah, read that passage again, Thaddeus, and focus on the words "sent down," which is on Zolna.
So we have already sent our messengers with clear evidences, and sent down with them the scripture and the balance that the people may maintain in justice. And we sent down iron, wherein is great military might and benefits for the people, and so that Allah may make evident those who support him and his messengers on scene.
Right. And so what was your question?
Yeah, so is the only thing that's described as sent down iron?
The point is, James, that here Allah says he sent down multiple things. He says he sent down the messengers, the book, the balance, and iron. And so the idea here is, if you're saying when it says he sent down iron, this means he sent it from outer space through the atmosphere. Then since it's also saying sent down the book and the balance and iron, is it saying that the book and the balance and iron all came down from outer space?
Definitely from the heavens. I would say the heavens.
Yeah, and I would agree with you there that as far as the book and the balance are concerned, the point here is already, even in this passage, it would seem you have a couple different meanings of sent down. If you want to say sent down iron means sent down from outer space, we wouldn't want to think of the balance and the book as sent down like they came from other stars. You'd want to say that like is sent down from Allah in some sort of heavenly realm. The point here is the meaning of sent down is open for discussion even in this verse, and I think that's what Thaddeus is getting at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you guys are splitting hairs. Now, what I find
no, because that specific. I just wanted to start with the verse, but you're going to have probably around 25, 30 different things described as being sent down by Allah.
I agree, but I'm only talking about one. I'm talking about iron.
You have to be consistent, because if that's the meaning in this passage, that it's coming from heaven, and this is some kind of scientific statement about where iron originates, then you have to be consistent with all the other passages that use the exact same word. It can't be metaphorical in every single case, except for the one case where you can interpret it miraculously. Now, if you want to say it's always metaphorical, that's fine, but then you don't have anything scientific. So unless you're going to say that it's always it's always physical, right? Then you're going to have a problem. And here's where you're going to have a problem, because it's going to be all kinds of things that are beneficial to mankind are being said as sent down. Things like clothing, food, cows. They're all said to be sent down by Allah for the benefit of mankind. And then you see it on iron and you're like, oh, well, see, that's a statement that iron is produced in the heavens.
Yeah, so let me just give a quick list, James, of things that, according to the Quran, verses of the Quran say that Allah sent down. So we've seen Allah sent down the balance. And we can look all these up if you want, but Allah sent down rain, Allah sent down manna, Allah sent down quails, Allah sent down cattle, Allah sent down clothing, Allah sent down the Torah, Allah sent down a surah, Allah sent down tranquility, Allah sent down angels, Allah sent down light, Allah sent down food, Allah sent down punishment, and Allah sent down iron. So the point here is the way I read these verses is basically parallel to Allah provided this for you human beings. So why aren't you grateful? Allah provided all these things. He provided the book. He provided manna. He provided tranquility. He provided angels. He provided punishment. He provided iron. He sent all these things down. So in other words, to say it wouldn't make sense to say Allah sent down cows and like cows were formed in stars and then were sent down from outer space. So the point Thaddeus was getting at is if the Quran's just using the same terms to refer to Allah sending all these things down, and the most natural way to sort of reconcile these are just saying Allah gave human beings all these things in some way. Why is it that it gets to iron and you say, no, this is literally sent down from a star and not Allah simply providing it as in all these other verses?
Yeah, like I said, I didn't say star. I just said the heavens. But one thing I like to point out, though, is I find it kind of disingenuous that when you guys focus on the Quran, you really get very detailed and analytical to the T. But
Well,
when it comes to the Bible, we don't use that same type.
I absolutely do. I absolutely do.
Of course we do.
The Bible the same way.
No,
of course we do. I would have the exact same response to a Christian who argued for a scientific miracle in the Bible. If you say, oh, he says this right here and this means this, I would say, okay, what about this passage over here? What do you do with that?
Okay, so would you say that, I'm getting off topic here, I just want to ask a quick question. Would you say that there's any discrepancies in the Bible?
If you're using the word discrepancy, sure. Yeah, sure. There are things that appear on the surface to be in conflict, and then once you look into it in greater depth and go into more analytical detail, to use your words, then you find out that there's not really a conflict, but there is a surface level discrepancy. I would agree with that.
Okay. But that's kind of irrelevant to the topic here. Notice
well,
this
it's
is
not necessarily relevant because I'm just saying that the way you guys focus on
you've never heard me once in your entire life make an argument for a scientific miracle in the Bible, and the main reason is specifically because of this. So people will go to passages in the Bible like where it says God hangs the earth upon nothing, and oh my goodness, how could the Bible know that the earth is hanged upon nothing, or the circle of the earth, saying it's round and so on. It would never cross my mind to use any of these as arguments because you'd have these other passages which sound like they're saying something different, and so how are you going to go? How are you going to go through that? So I don't use those, but my reasoning is the exact same with the Quran. It's if you're saying that this sent down iron he means sent down iron from space or from the heavens or something like that, some of these other passages aren't going to make sense at all. And so that's not setting the bar too high. That's just setting the bar at like a basic level that even the Muslims who are like before Ali Dawah, Hamza Tsortsis is the main guy who came out and said, we need to drop this argument because on the one hand, we'd have to know that the science is settled on some issue. Two, we'd have to know that this is what the Quran is actually saying. So we have to make sure that we're not putting our meaning into the Quran. They said, unless you have some commentary from Muhammad or something like that, where he's explaining what the verse means, we have to be careful about saying what the Quran means. So right here, when it says Allah sent down iron, there's a perfectly normal way of understanding verses like this, as these are things that Allah provided for you. So you should be grateful for them. And you shouldn't be angry at God. You should be, Christians could agree with a lot of these verses that, that's saying, hey, you should be thankful for all the stuff that God has provided for you. But instead it's, when Allah says he sent down iron, here it means literally from, keep in mind, it's not just the heavens. You could say that's what the Quran is saying. But if you're saying it lines up with science, it's iron was at some point formed in stars a long, long time ago and then sent down to earth. So the point is, is the Quran actually saying that? Well, the Quran doesn't say. The Quran uses the word ansalna to it just means like sent down. He gave it to you. So the question is, how do you know that the Quran is actually saying that? And then the third question, which our friend Hamza Tsortsis brings up, is even if it's right, if we know it scientifically is right and it is what the Quran is saying, is it something that people would not have known at the time or couldn't have known at the time? And that kind of brings up the other problem. So the one problem, and then Thaddeus can cover this other issue, but the one problem is we're just not convinced that the Quran is saying that iron came down from stars here, when that's not how the Quran uses the term ordinarily. So it looks like we're putting stuff in, but there is that other issue of whether this is something. So we at this point we could grant, for the sake of argument, that yes, it's talking about iron coming down from the sky. How could someone in 7th century Arabia know that iron came down from the sky? Any theories on that, Thaddeus?
Yeah, I have some information on that. Avery, you want to share my screen? So just real quickly on the meaning of the verse here, you got the classical tafsir. And if you'll notice in the verse, it's talking about the prophets and iron in the same sentence. And for that reason, they generally interpret this as they do actually interpret it as metaphorical in a very different way. Like Ibn Kathir, for example, says that it refers to Muhammad raising an army after the people of Mecca didn't listen to him, i.e. they was ordered to take up iron weapons and kill the disbelievers. And that seems to be how most of the tafsir understand it. But leaving that aside, is it original to the Quran? And it's definitely not. This is a very common belief in the ancient Near East, the geographic region from which Islam comes. Egyptians called iron the metal from heaven. The word for iron literally means metal from heaven. They thought that all of heaven was made up of iron. And in addition to Egypt, several other cultures say that iron comes from space, probably for the same reason. And why it says same reason is because my previous slide asked whether it was observable or not. And the reason people determined that was from heaven is they watched meteors descend. They went and looked at where the meteor hit, and they found iron there. Or they just, even if they didn't see it descend, they see a big crater, they see the rock in the center, and they find iron. And this is where all iron in ancient society before the Iron Age came from, is they got it from meteors, because the iron that's in the rocks in the earth is very difficult to get out. You have to smelt it at a very high temperature. That's why the movement from bronze weapons to iron weapons marks a major change in human history, because the weapons are vastly superior, but there wasn't enough iron until people learned how to smelt rocks. So all ancient people, they knew iron only from meteorites. Tibetan, the word togsha means sky iron. So similar to Egyptian, their word for iron and says that it comes from space. Iron from meteorites was highly prized throughout the region. They used it as a form of currency. That's how valuable it was considered. Plutarch calls iron, along with lodestone, the bone of the gods. So he's also saying it comes from heaven. The Hittite texts speak of iron from heaven, and Samaritan texts do as well. So you see all these cultures that are in the same geographic region and predate Islam are all coming to the same conclusion that iron comes from space, even though that's probably not what the Quran means. If that is what it means, it was common knowledge at the time.
So the point here is, before you get to the Iron Age, when people actually know how to get iron out of the ground, the only source of iron they had was meteorites. So a meteorite, you see a meteorite fall from the sky, you go over there, hey, this is made of actually some very good material for building things. So they could fashion some spearheads and so on from that metal that just fell from heaven. It's actually iron. And right. eventually they come up with other sources, way better sources of iron than just meteorites. But they thought of iron as this metal that falls from heaven. And so this was pretty common before Muhammad.
Right. Well, I find that you guys say that it was common knowledge, but still, that's not what it's saying in the Quran. So if it were common knowledge, then he probably could have known that and put it in the Quran. So how can you say it was something that's known, but then you can say, but it doesn't mean it in the Quran? If it's common knowledge.
If that's what the Quran means, then it's common knowledge. So you have two reasons to reject it. One, that's not what the Quran says. And two, even if it did say that, it wouldn't be miraculous. So my position, if you want me just one position, my position is that that's not what the Quran says.
Yeah, and so this goes down to, we're not the ones who came up with these rules, although I happen to agree with the rules. If you're saying here is some genuinely amazing, possibly miraculous scientific knowledge, accurate scientific statements in the Quran, and you're going to say, here's what the amazing thing is, Again, it's Hamza Sortsis who says, one, you'd have to show that the science is right. It's not something that's going to change next year or something like that.
No, I agree with the criteria.
Yeah.
I agree with the criteria that should be judged by
okay,
that. Yeah.
So this fails two of the three criteria, because the second criteria is it what the Quran is actually saying? Do you know what the Quran is actually saying? I'm saying it would be perfectly natural, given all the other times the Quran uses sent down to refer to Allah simply providing something. Seems very, very natural to just say Allah provided iron for you. Why aren't you more grateful to Allah for providing this sort of thing? Then you additionally have the Muslim commentaries where this is saying that Allah is telling you to pull out weapons and stuff like this. He provided iron in the form of weapons so you could go fight these guys. So there's a question of what it means, even according to the commentaries. But then even if we granted, for argument's sake, no, this is saying that iron actually falls out of the sky and it comes from outer space, and that's what it's saying. So it means it literally fell from heaven here, if that's what the Quran is saying. So we'd say, okay, the second point is met, even if we knew it, which we don't. But if we did know it, then what Thaddeus was pointing out is everyone understood that's what iron is, because before they could make iron weapons, they all thought of iron as something that falls from space. So if everyone's going around saying iron is the stuff that falls from space, and your guy says, wow, God gave us iron from space, that would be accurate information, but the point of that information would not be, hey, here's something that's unknown. This happens over and over again in the Quran, that it's something where Allah is giving you common knowledge, but telling you should be grateful for it. And that's a problem with some of these trying to go with the scientific meaning in some of these verses. I wouldn't necessarily
even call it a miracle. I wouldn't call it necessarily a miracle, but it's just to me a scientific fact. If it were saying that iron came down from heaven, it's a scientific fact, not necessarily a miracle.
Yeah, and by the way, it's because I was talking about this with someone last week where I was saying that trying to claim scientific miracles for some of these claims kind of destroys the point. Like in Surah 22:5, people go to that and say it's accurate embryology. There are some problems with the embryology there, but the entire point of the verse is not, hey, I'm giving you miraculous scientific information. The point of the verse is Allah saying, wait, you guys reject the resurrection? You think a resurrection is impossible, that God can't put you back together?
Right.
He goes, think about how you're put together at the beginning. That's some amazing stuff. And you can't believe that Allah could do that again. So it's weird, because it's like in this, these verses are like, think about all the things that God has provided to you. Why are you not more grateful to God? If a human being gave you these things, you'd be grateful to the human being. God provides all this stuff for you, and all you do is grumble and complain and whine all day. It's like, I could agree with those points. These are actually good points. But for some reason, every one of these verses turns into, here's an argument for a scientific miracle that Zakir Naik put out for it. And so I can actually be glad that, Ali Dawa and Hamza Sorsis and so on are saying, guys, stop using these as arguments here, because it allows people to get to the real point of the verse, which is sometimes very interesting.
No, I definitely, like I said, I started off saying I agree with him that it should not be used as an argument to prove that Islam is the true religion of God. I definitely, but just for me personally, some of these things that I've read and learned that I didn't know before, I guess they are kind of mind-boggling to me personally, because I didn't know them before I studied them in the Quran. So, but then there's other things. I like to go more into the mathematical part of it, though, as far as even let's focus on iron. Just real quick second thing on iron too is, what is the core of the earth made of? Speaking of iron,
it is made of iron.
Iron, right? And so, how many verses on how many surahs are in the Quran?
Which Quran? Which Quran?
Yeah, that's
the current
Quran?
A good
question.
I know of only one Quran.
Well, yeah, because the other versions were suffocated. But basically, Abdullah ibn Masud thought the Quran is only supposed to have 111 chapters. Ubay ibn Ka'b said 116, and Zayd had the support of Uthman, and he went with the 114 that are in it today.
Okay. Well, that's what I refer to, the 114. And if you divide 114 by 2, you get 57, and which also 57 is that's the surah titled Iron, Hadid, Iron. So I thought that was something else that definitely, I don't think, if Muhammad was illiterate, and that the fact that the Quran is not put together chronologically the fact that the current state of it is in the center.
So let me ask you something. Do you know how the Surah order was determined?
I believe it was divinely compiled, personally, as a Muslim, of course.
Okay, I meant historically speaking. So did Muhammad give the order of the chapters?
He told his Sahabas where to put certain things as they were revealed. That's what I believe.
That is not what your scholars would say.
Yeah,
they also are basically just ordered from longest to shortest.
That's not true. I know that's not true.
It's not 100% precise, but that's the general order, as longest to shortest. But do you want me to give you? I can pull up the scholarly opinion on this if you like.
Yeah. I know that, of course, Surah Baqarah is the longest one. It is second, and then some of the smaller ones are all at the back. But it doesn't.
Yeah, well, Surah 1 would be the exception, obviously.
Yeah,
that's
because that's the prayer. Yeah, that was when they arranged it. That they basically went from let's put all the long ones at the beginning and get shorter as we go on. But what's interesting here is even though we no longer have the Qurans of Ubay ibn Ka'b and Abdullah ibn Masud, we do have what's called the Sana palimpsest, which is the earliest version of the Quran that we actually have, and it had a different arrangements of chapters. And Ubay ibn Ka'b and Ibn Masud both had different arrangements of chapters. So the version that Zayd ibn Thabit put together, because he was told to do so by Uthman, seems to be different from the way other people were arranging the Quran at that time. So if you wanted to say it's miraculous, it looks like it's miraculous from Uthman and Zayd, because the rest of the Muslim community, they were organizing their material differently.
So this is from islamonline.net, a popular Muslim website, not my words. On their article, How the Chapters of the Quran Were Arranged, they say, but on the arrangement of the chapters of the Quran, there exist in it three opinions of the scholars. That it was divinely from the messenger of Allah, that it was the companions' effort, whereby they placed the long chapters at the beginning, and then they describe how they got to shorter and shorter ones. Or the third option, that some chapters were arranged divinely by the Prophet, while others were arranged based on the companions' effort. This is the preferred view of most scholars. So most Islamic scholars, most people who've studied this issue, believe the third, that Muhammad did say, in some cases, this chapter goes before this chapter, but for the most part, they were arranged later on, primarily on order of how long they are.
Okay.
Which then,
I know it's definitely not.
Which then, if Muhammad is not responsible for the ordering of the chapters, then you got two possibilities. Either Allah is ordaining it, and there are other people who are getting prophetic knowledge or coming to prophetic knowledge after the time of Muhammad in order to arrange the chapters correctly, or the chapter order is meaningless, in which case you can't use anything about the surah numbers as a mathematical argument.
So then that would be just a coincidence.
Yes, it would be a coincidence. That is definitely what it actually is.
Yeah.
All these mathematical things are definitely coincidences. Yeah. A lot of them are not even very surprising coincidences. Right. They're like 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10 chance, and they just sound really cool. But in reality, when you do the math, so I have a math major, I have a mathematics background. When you do the actual math and you look into these things, they're not actually very impressive mathematically speaking. They're chosen not because of the improbability, but because of the rhetorical value. So, for example, if we assume that there is a surah iron, right, and we think that for some reason it should be in the middle, although that's an arbitrary choice because why is it what's at the center of the earth supposed to be in the center of the Quran? Does that work for any other chapter? Are the first and last chapters what you find on the surface of the earth or anything else? No, it doesn't work for anything else. So how it really works is human beings are creative. They look at the text, they find things that line up, and you could do this with any text, right? Any text you could do this with. Now they wouldn't get the same things; they'd get different things. I mean, there's probably no other text that has a chapter called iron close to the middle of the book. I say close because if you have an even number of chapters, you don't actually have a middle chapter. You have 2 middle chapters. Even numbers don't have middles. But beside that point, there's probably no other book that has iron in the middle, right? Unless someone intentionally did that in modern times to mock this argument or some other reason.
Right.
But there will be other interesting looking coincidences found in any text.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. You can take any text and find certain patterns. But again, I personally don't believe in coincidences. I believe that anything that happens is in accordance with God's will and plan. So that's just me personally. I don't believe in coincidence.
I'm looking up it's an Islamic scholars website, Islam QA, so Islam question and answer, and where people can post their questions. And Muslim contacted them and said, hey, what about these numerical miracles in the Quran? They have a long article here. I'll just read their little introduction. I'll just read their first part of their first point, part of their second point, just to give an idea of how they're interpreting these numerical, whether you want to call them coincidences or miracles or whatever. But they say, praise be to Allah. Firstly, many people are infatuated by the different types of miracles in the Quran, including the numerical miracles. In newspapers and magazines and on the internet, they publish lists of words that are repeated a number of times that corresponds to their structure, and words that are repeated the same number of times as their opposites. They also claim that the word day is repeated 365 times and the word month is repeated 12 times. And they do this with other words too, such as angels, devils, this world, the hereafter, and so on. They say many people think that these numbers are true and that this is one of the miracles of the Quran, but they do not distinguish between subtleties and miracles. Writing a book which contains a specific number of certain words is something that anyone can do. What is so miraculous about that? So they draw some questions about whether, if the numbers did add up like this, would it be a miracle? But then they get down to their second point. They said, secondly, by examining the statistics presented by those who have published these numbers, we find that they did not get the numbers of some phrases right. And some of them have been selective in the way they counted words. And that is so that they might reach the conclusion they want and that they think is in the book of Allah. And then he gives an example of a guy who published a paper on a number of these scientific miracles. And then the scholar here says, as the result of my study, I reached the idea that the numerical miracle as presented in these books is not real at all. And these books are all based on conditions that are sometimes selective in order to prove the validity of this view in a way that will make the reader accept these preconceived results referred to above. So
I did personally, like I said, I personally debunked a few that I've noticed that they actually were cherry picking certain words to make things match up. But then there's other ones I actually verified myself that I thought was quite interesting. Me personally.
Yeah, and just so you know, I've seen people do the same thing with the Bible. They'll say, look at this, and if you count 7 words this way, and if you go 7 words and keep going through this, then it adds up to this message and so on. And so, yeah, people do that. Some people find it interesting, and they're looking for codes and stuff in various places. So, yeah, it's pretty natural to try and do that.
Right. No, I totally agree. Yeah. So, but again, I don't consider myself to be a Quranic scholar. I'm actually a convert to Islam. So things I learned on my own, just my own research and studying.
Mm-hmm. So you seem like a pretty reasonable
I'm going to represent myself, not the religion of Islam. Just then on record.
You're representing yourself well, because some people call in and they have a nice discussion. Other people just start hurling insults and try to get an argument and so on. So
that's good. I like to think that we're all trying to find the truth. So I don't know how that can benefit truth finding to be, have animosity and hatred toward each other.
And this is a weird situation where you've got guys like Ali Dawa that we would normally be arguing with, and then he comes out and says, guys, we should stop using this argument because it isn't very good. And something like we respect people more when they're acknowledging, hey, we got this argument wrong, because that shows that you are trying to get things right and not just trying to well, let me put it this way: when people are, certain people sound like they're making things up, and it makes us not trust them. So when someone else comes along and says, "Guys, we shouldn't be using this," we actually say, "Okay, good." And this guy sounds like he's being honest here. We can actually respect people more for acknowledging it. Because notice, I mean, for 14, the argument from scientific miracles is recent. For 14 centuries, this wasn't used, and so I don't see what the big harm would be in just saying, okay, guys, let's stop using this argument.
Right. So I agree. Like I said, I don't think it should be used as an argument to prove that Islam is true religion, or even to get anyone to accept it. But again, it's just for me personal, my personal study. I think the reason why a lot of these things are being just now coming to fruition is because of computers. People didn't have computers in the past, so there's no way to actually verify and count numbers and count letters and all this type of things.
Yeah.
So can I tell you a little story? Before you go, can I tell you a quick little story about the power of computers and mathematical miracles? So I don't know if you personally believe in the 19. Some Muslims say that 19 is, the proof number of the Quran. Right. So I had a Muslim agreed to a challenge on that if I could find similar miracles and the Book of Mormon, that he would agree that the argument is debunked, but he said that you can never do that. So I started.
One second, Thaddeus. 1 second, Robert. You have feedback in your microphone, so just in the meantime, until you get to speak, let's mute up so that we can hear Thaddeus.
Yeah, if you have some headphones, Robert, that would help.
Oh man, I have to go get them. Give me a second. I'll come back and. Huh?
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
You could stay. Just be on mute just for a second until.
Well, he said he's gonna go get headphones to help with the.
Let me get my headphones. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
All right, for sure.
All right, go ahead, James.
That is.
And Thaddeus.
Yeah. So he challenged me on the 19s, and I said, all right, I'm going to find 19s in the 19th chapter of the Book of Mormon. And I go right to that chapter. I start working on it without even that much help from a computer. And one of the very first things that I find is that I believe it was engraved on stone or something like that. Those 3 words occurred. It was either 19 or 38 times in that particular chapter, which is key phrase for Mormons, right? That they have these engraved tablets that supposedly the book was carried on. In 19th chapter, it occurs a multiple of 19 times. It's either 19 or 38. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm like, wow, I knew this would work, right? I knew that if I went there and I tried things, and I would find on average every 19th thing I tried would be a multiple 19. But the first thing I try, basically, a key phrase for Mormonism, and there it is 19 times. So it's not very hard. People way underestimate. People in general are really, really bad with improbable events, that people have almost no conception of the difference between something that's 1 out of 3 chance, so clearly less likely than not, and something that's 1 out of 100 chance. People have a hard time telling those apart. And if you get to 1 out of 100 versus 1 out of 100 million, there might as well be no difference in people's minds. That's why people are like, my odds of winning the lottery aren't that bad. They're pretty decent. Right. They know they're not, right? They know they're not because they've played it and they've never won, and no one else has ever won that they know, and they know that the odds are really high. But because humans are not good at estimating improbable events, they think that, it's really improbable, but it's conceivable, right? It's reasonable that it could happen. Yeah. And the phenomenon is happening on the other end, where people are finding something that's 1 out of 5 chance, which is what 19 is basically. 1 out of 19 chance is about 5%. That they're seeing things that are 5% likely, and they're thinking it's virtually impossible that could be there. It's the same as 1 out of 10,000 when it's really not.
Yeah. Are you guys familiar with the Bible code?
I am. So the Bible code is interesting because it actually holds up to mathematical scrutiny if it's not cherry picked. So that's your problem, right? Because anything that you bring will be cherry picked ultimately. That's how it's going to work.
Right. Well, so they did the same thing with any magazine. You can do the same thing with.
Yep. So it technically, right? They used very complex math. They could have only done it with computers, but their sample set actually did hold up to scrutiny. Like if and it was semi-objective because they were picking traits from a famous book about rabbis, the traits that they said, and comparing them to the rabbis' names, and they found a statistically unlikely congruence of things. Now, in the end, it basically was demonstrated that they cherry-picked which rabbis they were looking at. But they at least made an attempt to make it look mathematically rigorous, and technically the math was. And then it became really famous because in the book they predicted an assassination attempt on the prime minister of Israel, I believe it was. And then that actually happened. So they not only did they have mathematical scrutiny, but they predicted a future event that actually did happen. But then it was eventually shown to be cherry-picked data, and they got really, really lucky with one of the predictions they made in the book, because none of the other predictions ever came true.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember that when that first came out. I was kind of getting
it was quite a sensation, primarily because of that assassination attempt.
Right.
All right, guys. So, man, James, again, you are impressing my other hosts here. They fallen in love with you like I did. So they getting that James effect.
Not me. It's the truth. It's the truth they love, not me.
Oh, man, see, that's profound.
That is a true statement, and we like you because you're willing to pursue the truth instead of just insisting that what you say is good, no matter what we say in response. So
exactly,
that's why we like you.
So while we're in this little break here,
hello,
we got Robert. Yeah. I'll get to you right in a second, Robert.
I just want to make sure you guys can hear me.
Oh yeah, we can hear you just fine. It's good. It's good.
All right.
So I just want to encourage everyone to hit that like button. It looks like a lot of you guys aren't doing it. We have almost 400 people in here, and we're only at 190 likes. So y'all know how it is, man.
Maybe they just don't like you.
Maybe it's James.
Maybe they don't like Daddy. Maybe they don't like
came out for me last time.
No, they like James. Maybe it is Thaddeus. Who knows?
It's got to be Thaddeus.
Yeah, Thaddeus.
I added my like to the stream, so you got one more now.
Oh, that's what's up. Wow, he just now liked it. Listen, those of you guys who are watching this, please hit that like button. It helps push the video so that other Muslims can see that we are live and engaged with the conversation. All right, so hit that like button, 434, that like button. Please go ahead and do that. All right, let's get the likes up to 500. That's the goal. That's the goal. All right, so we got Robert Lawrence in the house. And you said you're a Muslim?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the question has been to our Muslim friends who join us, man, is basically what your position is when it comes to the scientific miracles in the Quran. First, I want to ask you, do you know what's going on? Have you seen Ali Dawa's video and things of this nature?
I've seen a little bit of it, but I really don't too much watch a lot of the Dawa stations. Okay. I try. I mean, I watch some of them, but I'm not a big fan of it.
All right, no worries. So let me put it to you like this. So Ali Dawa said that the scientific miracle argument for Islam, for the Quran, that has been debunked. It's a bad argument to use to try to prove Islam, and so Muslims should stop using that. Now, do you agree with that scientific miracles like this claim has been debunked, and this is a bad argument now to use, that Muslims will probably get embarrassed if they try to use this stuff? Or are you of the opinion that it actually is a good argument, that you can substantiate Islam with using the scientific claims that you find in it?
Just real quick, I'm gonna step off here and go pray. I'll be back.
Okay. Yeah, yep.
Right.
Come on back. Come on back.
Catch you later, James.
Okay, I'm not going to be too long because I have to follow him out. But I really, truly don't think that using science would even matter. Science in of itself, it changes all the time. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I don't base my faith on science. If I believe in the Quran, I believe in it 100%. No different than you as a Christian believing in the Bible as it being the word, or the what did most Christians say? It's the inspired word of God. So if you believe that the Bible is the inspired word of God, then no matter what any scientists say, you're not going to take that. You're going to take it as a grain of salt. And that's the same way that I believed. Ali Dawah doesn't speak for all Muslims anyway. He speaks for himself. And the thing is, he's not a scholar. So why should I take what he say as being something that I should look at in a great way? No, I just look at it as he has an opinion just like everybody else. But like I said, Allah in the Quran, Allah always speak that he said signs, not science. You never see the word science in the Quran anyway. He always speaks of his signs. So yeah, I mean, can you say, well, okay, this correlates to this and say this matches up? Then yes. But far as just saying like we need to use science, no, we don't have. If you believe something, you understand, and you have proof, then that's all you need. Science is not my proof. The proof is the Quran. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah,
so
Robert,
go ahead, David.
Oh, I just wanted to toss in one thing, and then I got to go grab some more water. Yeah, I just wanted to point out, because this came up, it just came up a little bit when we were talking to James, and it came up last week, that the Quran is claiming to give signs here, and and you had some people. This really started in the 1970s, where people started arguing that there are these there's this amazing scientific knowledge that couldn't have been known at the time and is only being verified today, that they were taking scientific confirmation as the signs, when again, as I was just talking about with James, and as we were talking about last week, it's kind of ruins the meaning of these verses, because a lot of the signs that Allah is saying that he's giving is basically what we call natural theology, pointing to something in the natural world. And it's like Allah saying, look at all of this stuff that I have blessed you with. Why are you not more grateful for what we've done? And so it's like the Quran is pointing around at things in the world, saying, look at all this stuff that God has blessed you with. Why aren't you more grateful for this? So the Quran is pointing around at things around. Yeah, it's pointing around at things in the world, saying, look, these are all signs. These are all signs. These were things that were given to you by God. And so it's not saying, hey, here's some miraculous scientific knowledge that couldn't have been known. It's like, open up your eyes and look at what God has done for you. Why are you not more grateful? And again, that's something that a Christian could say, absolutely. We should be looking around at the world saying, my goodness, we have a lot to be thankful for. And so it's like when someone jumps in there and says, this is a scientific miracle and this is verified by science. And it's like, I don't think that was the point of the verse. It never was until very recently, when people started trying to change the meaning of it.
Well, that's because most people is always reaching for something beyond their grasp. There's a lot of people that are laymen and need to stay as a layman and stop trying to act as if they have knowledge beyond what they have. That's why Allah says in the Quran all the time, look at the signs. Look at how look at how the orbit is, and look at how, the sun, the moon, and how they spin on their own axis, or look at the mountains and how they are, firm and steady for you. So when the earthquake happens, that it keeps it from collapsing. These are signs from God, and that's all it is. So we don't need a scientist to tell us what has been proven already. So we don't need that. We don't need confirmation from human beings, no more than you as a Christian feel like, okay, we don't need a confirmation for somebody to tell us that Christ was crucified on the cross. You believe it because that's what you believe. You go off your scripture. So as a Muslim, I'm going off of what I believe as a Muslim. I don't need anyone to tell me whether this is true or not. I base it off my logic. That's why the Quran always tell you to ponder, use intellect, to think, to understand what it is that you believe. And no one is going to deviate me from that. So science, if it correlates, then praise be to God. If it doesn't, then I'm still going to say praise be to God for what he revealed. And there's a lot of things that had just been recently, or maybe in the past couple hundred years, have been shown to have not been known at that time of the prophet, whether a person believe it or not. And I heard the other guy that I guess have the big cross above his head stating a lot of things and say, oh, well, they knew this, they knew that, but it was a lot of stuff they did not know. So, I mean, could it have been possibly that some people had knew some things? Possibly. There's a lot of things that things that maybe in the Bible that was already known before the Bible was compiled. So I mean, any of those things are possible, but the fact of the matter is, a person in Saudi Arabia who was not a learned man could not and did not know a lot of these things. I mean, that is just my position. And no, I do not need science. And Ali Dawud, like I said, does not speak for all of the Muslim community.
So you're kind of all over the place. Can I just ask you one question?
Okay.
Are your beliefs subject to being tested? Right? Are they subject to being tested at all, or do you just believe because you think the Quran is true and nothing could convince you otherwise? Even theoretically speaking, right?
Okay.
Or
well,
theoretically, could someone bring evidence that disproves the Quran?
I haven't seen. A matter of fact, I've listened to all of you guys, God Logic, David Wood.
I didn't.
No. Just let me. No, I understand what you're saying.
Just let me stop for you for 1
Go
second.
ahead.
Because you're about to answer something that I didn't ask. I didn't ask, does that evidence exist? I said, is your belief testable? Like theoretically speaking,
testable by who? By you? No,
by you.
I don't believe so.
Is it testable by you? Is it possible for you to come to the conclusion that Islam is false?
No, I don't believe so.
So then, okay, you're saying that you just have the position that atheists often attribute to theists, that you believe regardless of the evidence. That's not my position.
That's not what I said.
Right? I'm not saying you have to have my position. I'm not saying you have to have my position.
But I believe it based off evidence. I mean, just like you believe what you believe off of the evidence.
If you believe based on evidence, then you should be able to be disproven, theoretically speaking, right? Because if someone brings better evidence against it, then your position should be. That's what I'm asking. Is your position
yes. Okay, so disprove it how? Like what evidence can you bring to disprove it?
That would be my next question, right? Is what evidence would you accept as a disproof?
Okay,
because I mean, it's you, right? You get to set your standards. I don't get to impose my standards on you.
Okay.
So let me answer for myself first, so you can get an idea of what I'm saying, right? So if someone were to prove to me from a ordinary historical perspective, not a perspective of faith, but an ordinary secular historical perspective, beyond doubt that Jesus did not rise from the dead, then Christianity is false, and I'm not a Christian. That's not the only way it could be disproved, but it's an example, right? It's an example of what I'm getting at.
I mean, so can you prove that he actually? My biggest thing is not whether, because in our reality, whether you believe that he was crucified or not, or was he risen from the dead, my biggest thing is that most people believe, most Christians, not all, because there are some Christians who do not believe that he's God, but most Christians, I know all three of you guys so far on the panel believe that he is. But we was talking about scientific proof, the science from the Quran, or it was debunked. That's what we was talking about. So my biggest thing is that I don't need science,
right,
or someone to tell me about science.
I got you loud.
You know, that's what I came here for. Now, if we go to a different subject,
and I agree, science is the wrong tool to test the truth of Islam or Christianity, and that's because they're both history-based religions. If they're science-based religions, then science would be the appropriate tool. But they're both history-based religions. They make claims about his history, like factual history. So historical analysis is the proper method to test them, and that's how I test my Christianity. That is my preferred. It's not the argument every Christian will give you, but me personally, that is my preferred argument for arguing for the truth of Christianity, is to apply the historical method to the scriptures and see if they hold up to historical scrutiny, and they do with flying colors. And
I don't agree with that, but you can finish.
Well, I imagine you don't. With all due respect, I imagine you have never tried to apply historical analysis to the Bible.
No, I mean, well, of course, I'm not a theologian, and nor am I a scholar of any sense. But I mean, I was also. I mean, I didn't just be. I wasn't a Muslim my whole life, to tell you the truth. I mean, I grew up in the church. I actually used to hold Bible studies, so I kind of understand and navigated my way around the Bible. I would never say that I understood everything, but it was a lot that I did, and I took my faith and my belief very serious. I mean, like I wish, like most people should. I mean, this is not for play. Your salvation is at large, you know, whether you go to heaven or hell.
Absolutely.
And I think all people should definitely take serious what they say they believe. You can't have one foot in and one foot out. You know, you just playing games. And I take my religion very seriously. So, I mean, like I said, we talking about the scientific thing being debunked with Ali Dawah. Like I said, I don't base my faith off of science. I base my faith off of, you know, what is proven in Islam over the last 1400 plus years have proven to be the truth and the fastest growing religion in the world, not just based off of a bunch of people having kids, but based off conversion. And yeah, some people actually leave Islam, but that's fine.
Yeah. So pause for 1 second. So it's up to Avery whether he wants to go to another call, because you already said the scientific argument's irrelevant to you.
Yes.
Which is the subject of this. So it's up to him whether he wants to continue this discussion. But if he does, then I have some questions for you.
Okay, I mean, to be perfectly,
I'm honestly fine with it, because it seems like everyone that's coming on, they are saying that they are like don't need the science and stuff like that, and so I think it's okay to get into the nitty gritty of whether, like, why they say Islam is true. I'm fine with going that direction. Are you guys with that, Thaddeus and Swagasaurus Rex?
By me.
But to be, I would love to stay on the podcast. I would love to stay on your podcast, because in our reality, regardless if I agree with you guys or not, I do watch y'all, because I do understand that everybody has a difference of understanding. And so therefore we can go back and forth, but I do have to pray, and I just got off of work. So I would love to, if I have another time, I will be coming back, because I would love to have an interaction with God Logic. I do see him a lot. He's like all over YouTube and everywhere else. And so Mr. Wood also, he's very well known. And you, the guy who I've been talking to, interacting with.
So I imagine that's fine. So my
and that's fine. I mean, and I'm pretty. You don't know me, so but it's fine.
I don't know you, but let me just tell you, my channel's Reasoned Answers. You see right there on the screen, Reasoned Answers. I do open call-in shows similar to God Logic. So if you're interested, feel free to call in anytime.
I will.
So actually, I do two things. One is just an open call in where people in the audience can call in, or I also give Muslims the opportunity to schedule a time where they will get the primary attention, rather than luck of the draw whether you get attention that day or not. So if you're interested in either of those things, check out my channel. You can find my email there if you want to contact me.
And I definitely would, because I definitely like listening to. Because listen, man, my faith is the biggest thing, and I do like to hear other people arguments on why, not arguments, but discussion on why they believe what they believe. And some things I feel are valid, as far as believing in Jesus, because I believe Muslims, Christians, mainly Muslims and Christians believe in Jesus, and of course the difference is who he is. And that's the things that I really like to listen to and to discuss, because that is a very important subject. Our salvation all depends upon it. Yes, I would love to call back in.
If you got time tomorrow, I can stream tomorrow. If you got time.
Okay, I have more than enough time. I will definitely try to cut out a piece of time to get back on here.
All right, so look. All my like, you can hit me up on anything, email, Instagram, whatever you use. Everything is in the description. So hit me up tonight when you're signing off on this. Hit me up, say, hey, it's Rob. I was just talking to you. And so then we can try to set something up, okay? Set a time you are on the East Coast or West Coast?
I'm on East Coast.
All right, well, East Coast time, okay. Yeah, so just hit me up and let me know if after you get off work, if that's better for you and stuff like that. And just let me know. We'll set it up for tomorrow, okay?
Yeah, I'll try to, man. I'm not going to promise. I don't believe in
promises. Or like
it
doesn't have to be tomorrow.
Yeah, because I have anytime. Yeah, because I have a lot of engagements. My wife, she does a lot of things, so I try to be there for her. So I'll try to be there, but I would definitely like to talk to you and Mr. Wood.
Let me know. Let me know when it's good for you. Don't got to be tomorrow, but just hit me up on any of my handles, man. I stream often, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, no problem. All right, man. Y'all guys have a blessed day, and yeah, like I said, science does not speak for Islam, and I mean, I'm pretty sure as y'all Christians, y'all don't even budge when it comes somebody try to talk about science and try to debunk your faith. So, yeah, but
All
you
right, take
guys
care
have
of
a
yourself,
blessed day.
man. Take care. Take
All
care.
right, man.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
All right. Wow, man, we're getting some. What, this 2 weeks in a row? What's going
Yeah.
on?
So I did see Dr. Merca whatever in the chat. He came up the first week and he tried to defend miracles. So maybe he'll come up again today. But
Okay.
until then,
We also got Ryan also. So we have Ryan, we have if you guys I see you Hunter, check your text messages, Hunter. Check your text messages, dude. We have Nelson. And Nelson, I need you guys to let me know that you guys are Muslims. Because if you're not Muslim, this is for the Muslims, for you guys to come up as Muslims. We'll see, I'm already getting people that's trying to join, and like there's space that's taken up because folks ain't listening. So I need the Muslims to be the only ones that's in the back waiting and whatever. I need the Muslims here. Okay, because I don't have space to keep everybody. All right, so yeah, let me know if you guys are Muslim. If you're not Muslim, please just watch on the YouTube and let the Muslims join and interact, please, and thank you. All right, so we have Saeed here. We got Ryan here. I remember him, and Abdullah. Welcome, fellas.
They're all muted.
Oh, hey guys. So I guess I'll go first. So I came here last week. Remember, I argued for the lying in the brain thing,
Yes, yes.
and I looked up at the hadith you told me about, and I don't know how you made the comparison because that hadith was referring that goodness in that hadith was referring more to the deeds and to the heaven. Because if you read like the whole hadith, like in the context, it was referring to like people were locking up the horses, saying that the war was over, and the prophet said the war has just started, and there's the best deeds are in war, and the deeds you'd find is in releasing the the horses because they were tied with their forelocks. So yeah.
Let me just read through a few. So
No, I
anyway,
have.
yeah,
Sorry.
just to recap the argument from everyone. So in the
course.
Quran, one of Muhammad's enemies, I believe it was Abu Jahl, who was famous for having a forelock, and then the Quran refers to Allah grabbing him by the forelock, and it refers to it as a lying, sinful forelock. And the standard way of translating this is as forelock, as this lock of hair. And in order to demonstrate your control over someone, you back in the day would just grab them by the forelock, and you could drag them along where you wanted to, and so on. And so the claim, as it pertains to the topic we have here, is that at some point Muslims started arguing that when it says sinful and lying for the forelock, it doesn't make sense to think of a forelock of hair as lying and sinful. So what is this talking about? And so the claim then was this actually refers to the front part of the head, which would include the front portion of the brain, and that therefore the Quran is giving miraculous scientific knowledge that lying is part of the front part of the brain, and so hence the miraculous scientific knowledge. And so that's the general argument. And so when do you say you pronounce it like Ryan, right?
Yes, right. Yeah.
And so Ryan last week was mentioning this as a possible scientifically accurate claim. And so I brought up the point that in the hadith, you have claims about forelocks and so on that's used of horses, but he refers to goodness in the forelocks of the horses. And so I pointed out the way I've never been given any sort of explanation for why the Quran is attributing goodness or badness to forelocks. I mean, why the Muslim sources are referring to forelocks as good or bad or something like that. The impression I got, I do not know that this is correct, and maybe a Muslim commentator can explain this. My impression was that it's kind of metaphorical, and it's saying that if you're good, then when someone grabs you by the forelock, you're going to go along as you should. And so, like a horse, you grab it by the forelock, and it's going to go along with you. And if it's a good horse, it's going to go along with you. If it's a bad horse, it's going to pull and fight against you. And the same thing with a human being, that if you grabbed an evil human being even if you were trying to guide him where he's supposed to go, he's going to be kicking and screaming and fighting against you. And so that would be like a Muslim assessment of the character of Abu Jahl, is that there are people who are trying to guide him, and if you were to if Allah were to grab him by the forelock, this dude's going to be he's going to be bad. His evil is going to be demonstrated by that. So that's been my perspective. That's just how I read these passages. But Ryan, you're saying that the word, I mean, I'm looking at these passages. I'm looking at these hadiths. I saw the messenger of Allah twisting the forelock of a horse with his 2 fingers and saying, goodness is tied to the forelocks of horses until the day of resurrection. So there, it's goodness is tied to forelocks. So that is Sunan An-Nasai 3572, Sunan Abu Dawud 2542. I'm just looking these up as they're popping up. Utbah heard the messenger of Allah say, do not cut the forelocks, manes, or tails of horses, for their tails are their means of driving flies. Their manes provide them with warmth, and blessing is tied to the forelocks. So there's something that's good that is in the forelocks. Mishkat al-Masabi, the horses have good tied in their forelocks till the day of resurrection. Blessing is in the Sunan An-Nasai 3571. Blessing is in the forelocks of horses. There is goodness in the forelocks of horses till the day of resurrection. That's Sunan An-Nasai. Goodness is tied. So there's a bunch of these talking about goodness in the forelocks of horses. So my only point is, if these claims about forelocks are actually talking about the brain matter of horses, that is the claim then that this is amazing scientific knowledge of goodness in the brains of horses or something. In other words, long story short, it seems like there's a perfectly natural, normal way for reading these passages which isn't talking about the brains. And so to claim that these are actually talking about the brains, that I don't know, it just looks like a stretch to me. That's all I'm saying. But you said you've looked some things up.
Yeah. So so you would agree with the Quran that it's referring to like a person's action and their will to do something, like lying or whatnot? Would you agree that the Quran is referring to that?
Yeah, I think it's metaphorically. I think it's metaphorically. But Thaddeus may have a completely different perspective. But yes, I took that. I
have no problem with you thinking it's metaphorically, but like, would you agree that it is like actually talking about someone's actions, like even like the reason why God dragged the person?
No, it isn't. It isn't. So let me clarify. Is it describing the character as being lying and whatnot? Absolutely. But is that the reason he's being grabbed by his forelock? No, that's not the reason he's being grabbed by it.
What is that on your camera? Is that a cat?
Yeah. This is
our lying, sinful cat.
So
I have a relevant hadith that will demonstrate why I think the individual is being grabbed. If you want to share that, Avery, real quick.
Yes. Just really quick. Enelson, I see you in the back channel. You're not a Muslim, but you want to debunk the Trinity and stuff like that. This is not the stream for that. However, join me on my other streams. You're more than welcome to come up and we can talk about the Trinity, okay?
Hello.
This is directed towards our Muslim friends here.
Hello.
We can hear you, but
hello there. How are you? I can easily explain this.
What are you going to explain? Because the individual has made a claim, and I was going to explain the
No, I can explain it. It's actually easy.
Go ahead. I suspect this individual is not a Muslim, but go ahead.
Yeah. So
sound like a troll.
Are you
a troll or are you serious?
It's absolutely.
All right, so let's go ahead and look at this hadith. So this comes from Ahmed's hadith. So you may not say that, you can say it's not sahih or whatever. That's irrelevant. The grading is irrelevant because I'm not saying that this is a good command. What I'm saying is it shows the usage of the term forelock. So its greetings are relevant. So this is a dua that you're supposed to say to get out of trouble. O Allah, I am your slave, son of your slave, son of your maidservant. My forelock is in your hand. Your command over me forever executed, and your decree over me is just. And then it goes on. So what does it mean to have someone's forelock in your hand? It means you have control over them. So the Surah 96 is revealed in response to an opponent of Muhammad who is giving him trouble. And then the surah is revealed that your lying forelock is going to be in the hand of Muhammad, basically, that you're going to come under his control.
Hold on. Say that last part again. What do you think the Quran's talking
about? So I should have said going to come under Muhammad's control, but rather that you're under the you think that you're opposing Muhammad's prophethood, you think you're accomplishing something, but Allah is going to grab you, right?
Yeah,
which
right.
You can say that means Muhammad will be. That part's irrelevant, whether Muhammad actually takes control of the individual or not. But the point is that he's not in control, right? He's lying. He's making stuff up against Muhammad, but he's going to be grabbed by his forelock like a slave would be, and dominance shown over him, either by Allah or Muhammad, however you want to interpret that.
Right. So then how do you explain the next verse then when Allah says he specifically mentions the forehead and calls it lying? How would you continue over? So okay, let's just say the dragging is talking about domination. Fair enough.
Right. So it's just continuing. Right. So it's just continuing the the theme, right? Because it's already mentioned that. So it's then explaining that he's lying. The forelock, in this, and my suggestion here is how you control an individual. So you have control. You have control over the lying individual. The forelock that you have control, by analogy, is lying.
Right, but you would agree that this, in this thing you reference here, my forelock is referring to he's in control of him, right?
Right.
That's this.
Yeah. So this dua is supposed to be a Muslim submitting to Allah, saying you're in control over me. You have your forelock in your hand, my forelock in your hand, which wouldn't make sense if it's like your center of decision making or intelligence. That wouldn't make any sense unless you're saying that Allah is making you do stuff, which I don't think is at all what they're saying here. They're saying that Allah is what you're looking towards, he's in control in the sense that you're following his commands. You acknowledge your status before him, but it's not saying that your decision making, Allah controls your decision making. That's not what it's saying at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would agree, but except I think the difference here is this one's talking about specific. Okay, you have control, while the Quran is specifically talking about a person's his decision making. I think that's the difference here. It's one. Well, I
don't think the Quran's talking about decision making. I think the reason that control is being given is because of the lying. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, in that chapter, Allah does talk about Abu Jahl's bad character and stuff like that, doesn't it? And then in reference to that, he's going to drag him, and then he calls it again lying, sinful forehead.
Yeah, exactly. So you even get the individual's name, which I didn't recall off the top of my head, but Abu Jahl is a opponent, his bad character, that he's going to be punished. So he's grabbed by the forelock, control's taken over him, and then the summary of why he's being taken control of is because he's a liar.
Yeah. So again, Allah is he's talking about him based on what the decisions he's made. So then when he says, "Oh yeah, lying, sinful forehead," he's referring to the actions that he made, and then he specifically mentions the forehead. While this one,
right, but
go ahead.
Right. So what we're disagreeing, we're not, everything you say is correct, but I'm disagreeing that Allah is calling out the forehead as an analogy for his decision making. Rather, he's calling out the forehead because that's how you take control over an individual. That same idea with the horses, right? You're grabbing the horses by their forelock and taking control over them. That's why so many horses are being described by their forelocks.
Right, but the horses I already mentioned before that it's a reference to the good deeds that you'll get for doing jihad. That's even in the longer version of the hadith, the Prophet confirms this, and I can send a reference if you'd like. But again, see, So if I understand this correctly,
yeah. So I think what we're missing here is that I'm saying there's nothing special about forelock. That's ultimately what I'm saying, is that the term forelock has nothing to, it doesn't convey any special meaning, right? That it doesn't add any meaning to the passage, which means if it doesn't add any meaning to, like the horses passages, and it doesn't add any meaning to this passage, then you can't say that it's referring to the decision-making portion of the brain, which is in the head behind the hair in the front of your head. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get at that there's nothing special, that the phrase is an idiom for taking control over someone. So it's not really about that particular body part. And since it's not about that particular body part, then you can't draw an analogy about the brain function that we've discovered since then.
Yeah, so I have no problem with saying that the Hadith, you can't say it's the front of the brain, because like you said, it's referring more to dominating the guy. But again, the Quran, I feel like, is different. It's talking in a different context, because it is specifically mentioning about the person's actions. And then he's saying, I will take control of you over you. But then Allah goes back again and mentions the forehead, describing this person's forelock, because he specifically mentions forelock. Elsewhere in the Quran, he would say something else like a person's heart or whatever. But in this specific passage, he talks about forelock and he calls it sinful. And so why would Allah say specifically that the forelock is lying and sinful? Why does he specifically
I think I've I think I would just be repeating myself, so I'll ask David if he can maybe put it a different way.
Yeah, no problem. I understood what you meant. You referred to, like, okay, it's not special because it's just
right.
Yeah,
I don't think that Allah or the author of the text is intending to draw an analogy about brain function.
Yeah, and I'm looking at some more of these hadiths. So this is from Malik's Muwatta. Yahya related to me from Malik from Zayd that the Messenger of Allah said, when you marry a woman or buy a slave girl, take her by the forelock and ask for barakah, so ask for blessings. So you marry a girl or you get a slave girl, you take her by the forelock, and that's when you ask for blessings. Yeah. So there's something connected there. And then also Malik's Muwatta, Yahya related to me, blah, blah, blah. Abu Huraira said, the one who raises his head and lowers it before the imam, his forelock is in the hand of a shaitan. So if you are not in sync when doing your prayers and so on, it's because Satan has you, or a demon or something like that has you by the forelock. He's controlling your actions.
Wait. Can you read that hadith one more time? I'm sorry. Just one more time. I just thought, if you don't mind. Sorry.
The one who raises his head and lowers it before the imam, his forelock is in the hand of a shaitan. So the one who raises his head and lowers it before the imam. So if you're out of sync during your prayers and stuff, and at least that's how I'm interpreting it. His forelock is in the hand of a shaitan. And then Sahih Muslim narrated Abu Huraira. Abu Salih used to command us in these words, blah, blah, blah. When any one of you intends to go to sleep, he should lie in bed on his right side and then say, "Oh Allah, the Lord of heaven, the Lord of earth, prayers. I seek refuge in thee from every evil thing thou art to seize by the forelock." So Allah seizes the evil things by their forelocks. And then in parentheses says, meaning he has complete control over it. So anyway, the long story short here, we read all of these passages, and it seems like a completely normal way of communicating that one person can control another person by the forelock, that Allah can control people by grabbing them by the forelock, that even evil people like Abu Jahl, Allah can grab them by a forelock. And so to sort of come in the middle of all this and then point to a verse and say, when it says forelock here, it's actually referring to the prefrontal cortex of the brain. That would be a very odd way to understand any of these passages, given that it's completely normal language to talk about grabbing someone by the forelock, and even saying that you can have a good forelock or you can have a bad forelock, depending on what kind of person you are. It seems very natural to be talking about this as some sort of metaphorical representation of, like, your whole character. It's hanging out in front of your face, and you can fight and kick against it, or you can be good and go along with being guided. So anyway, the point here is the main question, the different criteria that were put forward by Hamza Tsortsis on what would constitute miraculous scientific knowledge. The big question here would be, is this even what the Quran is saying? And it doesn't look to me like, put it this way, the Quran could be saying that, but given that that's totally non-standard usage, it doesn't look like anyone could show that that is what the Quran is saying, unless they've got something that goes, some commentary from Muhammad or his companions or something like that, saying that it's referring to the brain or something like that.
All right. Yeah, that's fair. So I personally would argue this like from the plain reading, and all the one thing I would mention as well from the hadiths you mentioned, like all those you mentioned all refer to like taking control of someone, right? But they don't. It doesn't talk about per se a person's actions like it does in the Quran. I know the other guy, I don't remember your name. You claim that no, it's still talking about a person's control. But personally, for me, when I read the chapter in the context, Allah specifically mentions him because of his lying and because of the sinful things he's doing, and then he takes control of him. Oh, wait, sorry, one
Let me
sec.
just reread
no
the verse
Yeah,
so we're
go
clear here. So Sahih International, no, if he does not desist, we'll surely drag him by the forelock. Now the next verse starts, but it's really just the same sentence. So it's all one sentence. Drag him by the forelock, a lying, wrongful forelock. So I think that it's describing his whole character, right? That it's not talking about his brain making bad decisions, but rather it's saying he is a lying character, is what it's saying.
Huh. Well, in like other passages, when Allah mentions like a person's whole character, he always refers to a person's heart, or in general, he would literally say this kind of person in a like a singular kind of way. But it's only this specific passage Allah decides to specifically target the forelock. That's why I think like from the plain reading, it does seem kind of clear. Allah is saying something in front of the brain, something in front of his head, sorry, is responsible for these actions. That's what I would argue.
I get what you're saying, but I think that the key idea is dragging him by the forelock, which is then why it gets carried over into the character, because otherwise it'd be, we drag him by the forelock, a lying, wrongful heart, or something like that, which doesn't really complete the poetry. It doesn't work very well poetically if you just like have that mixed analogy where you're grabbing him by the forelock because you have control, and then you say he has a lying heart. It would be like two separate thoughts. Whereas the way it's written, it's one thought. You're grabbing him by the lying forelock because you've grabbed him by the forelock, and then the forelock's described as lying, but it's standing in for his whole character, I think, is what the way we're reading it anyway.
Yeah, but there's other ways to say it for it to like make it sense. Like I know in English it sounds a bit odd, but like you can change the text a little bit to make it say heart or person or whatever, like Allah has done in other verses. But I just feel like the only thing here that shows me that it's referring to decision making, it's because the whole context of that chapter refers to the actions, and then Allah does take control of him. And then he could have just said a lying sinful or whatever, but he then again specifically targets the forelock again. That's why I think is the key here. He targets it again. He doesn't just
Well, it's not again. I disagree with the again because it's one sentence. If it was two sentences, then I could agree with it being again. But because it's one sentence, I think that the idea is carried forward.
I'm pretty sure the sentence.
I will give you this. I will give you this. That this is actually more interesting than the typical things that are brought up. I would put this in a mildly interesting category, perhaps, whereas all the other ones are like obviously wrong. So it's at least mildly interesting.
Okay, I appreciate that. At least it's better than nothing.
Yeah, and I'll just point out that Muslim commentators also understood this not in any sort of scientific way. So this is Tafsir Jalalain. He says Tafsir Jalalain says a lying iniquitous forelock. This is an indefinite noun substituting for a definite. The description of this forelock in such terms is meant figuratively, and what is actually meant is that individual. So it's saying that the forelock is a figurative reference to the entire person. So we do have some Muslim commentaries going along with.
Yeah, I'm worried that some Muslim commentaries have argued that, and I have seen others as well that disagree and says that it's more referring to an overall person's brain. So I've seen I know there's a difference of opinion within that. The thing I would say in response to that is that there's no evidence like from anywhere that a forelock references a whole person in terms of like, you know, whether he's lying, sinful, or a good person or whatnot. It's always in reference of taking control of someone rather than describing what that person is. So that's only the response I would make to that. Anyways, I best let the other people talk as well, because I know you guys.
we actually we have a new person on the stage as well. We have Said, we have Abdullah, and then we have Sarah. Sarah, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you
Anyways,
Muslim?
thanks, guys.
You're welcome, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Are you a Muslima?
But tell me first of all, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Are you a Muslim?
Actually, first of all, tell me, is my voice male or female? Because that's a very important question.
What?
It sounds like you're using a voice changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's I'm using a voice changer because I just want to tell you guys that big fan here, and just keep up the good work, and really big fan of David Wood.
Woo!
Because of him, technically all of my family has left Islam. So
wow,
awesome.
God bless. Praise God.
Praise God. And sir, I want to tell you just a little suggestion that this guy Rumzi, running this channel's Dawa or Dunya, you guys should really refute his lies, because he is really twisting the words and twisting the tafsir and twisting the hadith and like playing games. So if you guys, especially David sir, he's like legendary. So if he could refute this guy, it would be really awesome.
All right. Well, God bless you. I'm happy to know that your family come to Christ.
Thanks a lot. Basically, I'm a guy, but I'm using voice filter because, of course, I live in a Muslim country, so it's a bit risky.
Yeah,
we get it.
God bless
we get
you.
it.
God bless you.
Okay,
We're praying
sir.
for you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Okay. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's always nice to get a surprise testimony like that.
I want to get one of those voice changers. That'd be fun. I could crank call my own wife.
I don't even know how that works.
Find out what kind of trash. Find out what kind of trash she's talking about me. You're like, hey Marie, this is your friend. Tell us the truth about your horrible husband. Right.
Oh man, that's funny. Okay, well, we have Said and we have Abdullah. You guys are more than welcome to join in and chime in. Said, you were here yesterday.
And James is back.
Oh, James is back
David
too.
Wood,
Triple threat.
I have a question for David Wood. In a video, you said you will become Muslim if someone showed you one scientific miracle in the Quran. Are you ready to become Muslim?
I don't remember saying that, but yeah, if you want to show me a scientific miracle that meets all the requirements, yeah, let's see it.
No, I need to hear you say yes. I will take the shahada once I showed you the scientific miracle.
Scientific miracle that can only come from God. Yes, I'll go with it. Go ahead.
Okay, well, can someone share Quran 456?
Chapter 456.
Abdullah, you guys are more than welcome to join in and chime in.
Chapter 4, verse 56.
I don't know where this is going. I got the text.
I know where it's going. I just can't believe he brought this up and thinks this is going to impress anyone.
Well, first of all, you guys need to give him a chance because
you're correct. You are correct.
Yeah, he might.
Wait, how is this not going to impress anyone? It's going to impress the whole world.
Yeah, it's going to get him. Watch. He's nervous.
I'm already about to convert right now.
Yeah, they're nervous. They're nervous, Abdullah. That's
I'm
what
pretty
it
sure
is.
I haven't heard this particular claim before, so I might be very impressed.
So 464, right?
Yeah. So,
okay,
so David, when I pinch your arm, you feel a little pain there, right?
Yep. I feel all kinds of pain, especially if you burn.
All right, cool. Well, Well, if you look at this verse, it says, Allah says, we're gonna peel your skin and then we're gonna create new skin for you, so you can feel pain. It's talking about pain receptors, well before pain receptors were discovered in the skin. So this is a scientific...
Look, guys, why are you laughing? Go ahead.
This is a scientific miracle, and I want you to take the Shahada right now.
Right now, David.
Muslim right now.
Right now.
First, we got to verify that it is indeed a scientific miracle.
5'6", not 6'4".
Oh, 5'6". Okay.
Yeah. What are you even doing? Look at this.
See, I was so excited.
Here.
I was so excited that I got the numbers mixed up. Alhamdulillah, Yeshua. All right,
I'm so excited as well. I can't believe David Wood is finally becoming Muslim.
Yeah. If this awesome argument pans out, sure.
We shall change. So this argument is saying that that it's talking about pain receptors before pain receptors were even invented or discovered.
That is correct. So let's read it. Let's read a few translations of this, just so everyone gets the gist of the verse. So I'll read 4 real quick. So this is Surah 4, verse 56, talking about hell. Lo, those who disbelieve our revelations, we shall expose them to the fire. As often as their skins are consumed, we shall exchange them for fresh skins, that they may taste the torment. Lo, Allah is ever mighty wise. Yusuf Ali, those who reject our signs, we shall soon cast into the fire. As often as their skins are roasted through, we shall change them for fresh skins, that they may taste the penalty, for Allah is exalted and power wise. I'll just give the gist of the other ones. Hilali Khan, surely those who disbelieved in our proofs, we shall burn them in the fire. As often as their skins are roasted through, we shall change them for other skins, that they may taste the punishment. And Shakir, as for those who disbelieve our communications, we shall make them enter fire. So oft as their skins are thoroughly burned, we will change them for other skins, that they may taste the chastisement. So the argument here is Allah is saying in the Quran that he's going to burn off your skin, but then he's going to replace it with fresh skin so that you can feel the pain and the torment. So the question is, how could Allah know that there are pain receptors in the skin? This is miraculous scientific knowledge. Is that about right?
Absolutely. Now repeat after me, David. Ashhadu.
He hasn't accepted it yet.
We're not done yet.
Is it Muhammadur or Muhammadan? I need to know, just for personal.
It's Muhammadan.
Muhammad, not Muhammadur?
No.
I've heard Muhammad.
Wait, are you laughing at that? Hold on.
No.
Ashhadu anna Muhammadan.
It's not Muhammadur, it's Muhammadan?
Yes, Muhammadan, yes.
Okay, so whoever says Muhammadur doesn't really know Arabic or know the Shahada?
And here, I thought you were going to bring up Uthman.
No, I brought up another one. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry, continue. Go ahead.
So I'd be interested in, since Thaddeus said he's not familiar with this one very much, I'll just give my general response is that any burn victim could have told you that. So even if the Quran is saying that that whatever makes you feel pain is in your skin, you'd have to, in order to show that this is something Muhammad could not have known, you'd have to show that he never ever encountered or never met anyone who had encountered a burn victim ever, because once you get your skin severely burned, you no longer feel pain on that spot. And so anyone could have told anyone, I mean, anyone could tell you if you just pointed out, hey, if you pinch me, you feel the pain. So, okay, pinching's got something to do with pain. You could take burn victims who've had their skin burned off. Oh, they don't feel pain there anymore. And so it's to claim that this is miraculous scientific knowledge. Again, even if that's what the Quran is saying, this seems like it would have been fairly common knowledge. And so this would fail to meet the third requirement of Hamza Tsortsis on proving a scientific miracle in the Quran.
That's not true. It's always believed that pain was from the brain, even back in Muhammad's time.
What? Show us that. Yeah. Show us that they believe pain was in the brain. Pain was in the brain.
Actually, if Muhammad claimed that the brain sends pain signals, I would be very impressed by that. Actually,
No. People believe that it was the brain that was
claim.
responsible.
People didn't even know what the brain's function was.
Yeah, we're interested in this brain claim you just made. So where are you getting the fact that people thought that pain was in the brain? Because that's far more recent knowledge. That's far more up-to-date scientific knowledge than saying that, oh, skin has something to do with pain.
No, it's actually the other way around.
Okay, then we're just asking for the evidence.
Yeah, I can't show you the evidence right now.
Okay,
but
that's fine. That's fine.
But you can if you have any spare time, you can look this up yourself. People believe that it was the brain that was responsible for pain, but it was actually the skin.
Okay, what we're saying is that this goes against everything we know about ancient peoples, because they thought that feelings were in the heart and in the intestines and all kinds of things. And so we actually find it interesting if you have evidence that they were thinking in terms of brain function. Now, they would have had some evidence for brain function involved in various things, because if you could get a good whack in the head and all of a sudden you get a concussion or something. So they should have had some idea about head injuries and so on. But yeah, so skin, again, any burn victim could tell you, hey, I just got my skin burned off and I don't feel pain there anymore.
No, Muhammad never encountered a burn victim, because this revelation was before any war he encountered. So before any war he went into, was revealed.
You're saying that people never burnt themselves accidentally?
No. He never experienced any of that. He's living in the desert. Okay, so there's I mean, like,
they don't have fires in the desert?
No, you don't. You really don't, because everyone's always covered up with something. So
okay. Give us the evidence that Muhammad, I mean, keep in mind, before this, he was a caravan trader. He's going around, he's traveling through Arabia, and you're seriously claiming, I mean, I've met dozens of burn victims in my life. You're saying Muhammad never met a burn victim, and you know this. And not only that, he never met anyone who could tell him about a burn victim. Right? That's your claim. Yeah. And so the next thing is you're going to have to show us this. We're going to need to see some evidence of that.
Okay, but you're missing the point. Muhammad says that he got this from Allah. Allah revealed this to Muhammad. So the claim, if Allah revealed this to Muhammad and it's scientifically proven, it's a miracle, ladies and gentlemen.
No. We still don't know what you mean scientifically proven. It's Muhammad is sharing some information that anyone who'd ever met a burn victim could have, or anyone who's ever been pinched could tell you, oh, hey, it hurts my skin when you pinch me. So this doesn't seem like even generally interesting information. Like, we wouldn't look at this and go, oh wow, how did he know that? It's like, who wouldn't have known that? And then so if you're adding to that claim that he couldn't have encountered anyone, all you've added to it was you said, oh, but he says that Allah says that. Yeah, Muhammad says Allah told him all kinds of things, and we know that he was getting his information from the people around him. I mean, Muhammad says in Surah 5 verse 32, he actually says that Allah revealed to the children of Israel, but the quotation is from the Talmud. I mean, it's from the Talmud. So this is way, way, way later than the Torah or anything else that he has anything to do with. So he's clearly hearing other information that people are sharing. You see this throughout the Quran. And so to claim, no, the only place he could have gotten this was from Allah. I understand why you believe that. You're a Muslim, but we're not looking at this as, yes, all of this came from Allah. We're looking at this as, okay, who would have known that?
What? It doesn't even make any sense.
Basically, man, you got to do better than that, man.
No. This is a scientific miracle.
Okay, so I never heard this before. Do you want? Even before David said one word, my first thought was, people know that you poke them, they have pain in their skin. It'd be a completely obvious guess to say if you didn't have any skin, you wouldn't feel that pain, and you would need the skin back. I don't see anything.
Wait, you're saying that's an educated guess?
But a common sense statement that in order to feel pain in your skin, you need to have skin. You poke yourself, you feel pain in your skin as you yourself you said pinch, I think, but you yourself said that you can tell that you have pain in your skin. And then the picture being painted is someone whose skin is completely burned off, and then they need skin back to feel pain. If that's even what the verse means, I'm not even sure that's what it means, but if that's what it means.
No, you're being dishonest. Okay. when you're
I am not being dishonest. This is my
unconscious.
My first thought is that it's obvious you feel pain in your skin. If you didn't have that skin, you may or may not feel pain.
How do you know that?
What I just said may or may not. You wouldn't have any concern. How do I know you may or may not? What kind of question even is that?
If you pinch someone who's unconscious, they're not gonna feel it. There's no response. They're not gonna give you a response to that. Because we originally thought it was the brain that was responsible. You need to be conscious in order to feel pain.
First of all, the brain is responsible. You actually won't feel any pain if the if your nerve receptors don't send the signal to your brain. You won't feel any pain.
No, it's been scientifically proven.
That's actually true.
The skin. No, it is true. The skin is responsible.
No, you'll have no knowledge of your pain. So you will have a physiological response, but you have that same response if you're sleeping. So your skin has a physiological response.
No, you're not listening, okay? What I'm saying is people believed it was the brain because when someone was unconscious...
Actually, you're embarrassing us. You're embarrassing us.
Hey, shut the hell up! I'm trying to respond!
Whoa, relax.
You're embarrassing us. What are you even saying?
I am not embarrassing anybody, okay?
You're embarrassing us.
No, this is a scientific miracle.
He's got a point.
And you have to agree this is a scientific miracle.
No, I don't have to.
You want people to come to Islam, and you're saying this? Bro,
absolutely. Why not?
What are you even saying?
I'm saying that this is a scientific miracle.
No, just get to the next point. This is just nonsense.
No, you just want to have an opportunity to talk. That's why. You just want this.
I agree with Mohammed.
Blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so I don't find this impressive. I think that any person would think that pain is in the skin. I don't care if you find it impressive. And you said that if they're unconscious, they don't feel pain. But technically, the body generates a physiological response, so you technically do feel
No,
pain.
If you actually listened, I said if they're unconscious, it looks like they're not experiencing anything.
Muhammad said that this is embarrassing and you got to try something else, man. Even a Muslim said this.
Are you conscious or unconscious in hell when Allah is burning you? You're conscious. So what does that have to do with anything?
No, I'm just trying to tell you that the way people perceive this is that they thought it was the brain that was responsible for it.
And you made that claim, but you didn't provide any evidence for it. So just be clear on that.
No, I'm still waiting for your shahada, bro. Are you going to email it?
We're still waiting for anything remotely resembling a miraculous knowledge.
No, are you going to email your shahada to me?
Yeah, just wait for it in the mail.
Look, you have.
I think we should.
I showed you a miracle, and you're not even saying the shahada.
Even the Muslims in the chat aren't impressed by this.
Yeah,
and you're saying
is anyone impressed by the amazing scientific knowledge that if you burn someone's skin, it hurts?
We are not. We are not. Just get to the next point.
Thank you. I never thought I would say this ever in my life, but thank you, Mohammed.
Let me say something about this skin thing. I agree with Abdullah. You see, at that time,
you agree with what? It's complete nonsense. You agree with what?
Let's hear what Saeed has to say, because he
has to say nothing. He has to say nothing. He's just embracing Islam.
What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him?
What's wrong with you?
Just shut up 1 minute.
Don't tell me to shut up.
Make him stop.
In the name of Allah, do not tell me to shut up.
Okay, let me about the skin, David. At that time, Prophet time, there was no concept of changing the skin. Okay, at that time, you understand. At that time, there was no concept of replacing the skin. So Prophet said it. So why you two guys are laughing? Okay, what I am gonna say about the miracle in the Old Testament, there are many miracles in Old Testament, scientific miracle, like let there be a light, let be there a light. clearly talking about the Big Bang, you know. So I believe there is a scientific miracle in the Old Testament, and there is a miracle in Quran. Allah said He is spending the.
No, just stop it. Just stop it. Just stop.
What's
Yeah,
wrong
so
with
now
you?
Saeed is telling us there's scientific miracles in the Old Testament, which he doesn't accept.
What? What do you say, Kurt?
I said you're now telling us that the Old Testament has scientific miracles in
Yes,
it,
yes,
but you don't
yes.
accept the Old Testament because you're a traditional Muslim. I know from previous discussions with you.
Yes,
You don't
there is-
accept the Bible as being authoritative. So why are you saying that the
No,
Bible
we
contains scientific miracles?
believe in Bible, Old Testament and New Testament. We believe in it. We require to believe in it.
MashaAllah. What? Say that again.
What's wrong with him?
No. Say that again.
What's wrong with you?
He's a strange
I
man.
want you to say it again. Say it again that you believe that Muslims are required to believe in the Old and New Testament.
Yeah, there is a Old Testament said that let there be a light. This is talking about the
No. Not that. Say what you said before.
what I said.
So he wants you, Saeed, tell him what what Muslims are required to believe about the Old and New Testament. I think that's what he wants to hear.
Yes, we require to believe in it. Torah and the Injil, we require to believe in it.
He is right. It's just you're absolutely correct that the Quran requires belief in the Jewish and Christian scriptures. It's just it's strange because most Muslims tell us no, that's not what they're required to believe.
No, they are wrong. They are wrong.
The Injil, Injil, not the Bible. Injil.
Oh, really? But because Allah says He's confirming what we have, and He says we haven't.
It's the same thing. Injil, Bible, they use Bible.
No.
Correct. You are
Injil
correct.
doesn't exist anymore. The Bible is corrupt.
Bible
So,
is
Surah 5.
still in Bible. There is a word of God. Exists.
Bible is not the word of Allah.
Anyway, I came to show about the miracle in the Quran. I discovered a new miracle in the Quran, and it's about the global warming is not man-made, but it's natural. Okay, it's happening. It's natural, and Allah said in the God logic. Could you bring the verses 1341?
Yeah, what you need from me, man? I work for you. What you need from me?
1341.
1341.
Don't bring it up, please.
I gotta oblige, man. He might be bringing some truth, some hikmah, man.
He said that he found this one himself, I think is what he said.
Okay, so this might be one that Thaddeus nor Spinosaurus Rex have ever heard. All right, this might be something completely new. Watch
this is my discovery.
All right, let's get it. See, that's what excites me. Let's bring some news.
Can you guys start muting people?
No need to mute unless I gotta mute you. All right, 13. I'm sorry. What was it? 13 what?
41. 1341.
Oh, yeah, the very last. Okay, there it is. 1341. All right, now let me share my screen. Yeah. Make sure you guys hitting that like button. Let's hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. It only takes a millisecond. All right. So it says, see they not that we gradually reduce the land from its outlying borders, and Allah judges. There is none to put back His judgment, and He is swift at reckoning.
Look at the check out the parenthetical. Check out the parenthetical
commentary. Don't forget about those. Don't.
Forget the parentheses. Forget the parentheses, huh?
Just
Just the verses. Okay, yeah. Okay. Yep. So yeah, see they not that we gradually reduce the land from its outlying borders.
Yes, this is what happened in global warming, reducing our.
No, it didn't.
Shut up.
Let him cook, man. Let Saeed work. Let him work. Go ahead, Saeed.
So it's saying, the global warming reducing our landmass. So this ayat talking about the Allah is reducing the land mass is reducing because of global warming, reducing our land mass. So this is the global warming is a natural phenomena, not a man-made thing. Or we cannot undo what happening. Global warming, we cannot undo this. It's going to continue to rise in the water. Sea level will rise, continue to rise.
Akhi, the Quran is the book of Allah. It's not a book of science. So stop trying to put your nonsense into the Quran, please.
Oh man, I got wrong time.
Avery, can you scroll back to the start of the verse?
Okay, yeah, sure. Somebody asked, are these paid actors? That's what I'm going to get accused of. I'm going to get accused of having paid actors on this channel, man. They're going to accuse me.
The first word, all right, so say this question for you. The first word says, see they not that, and then what you claimed was global warming. So who is the they in context here?
It's the people.
What people?
It's saying people see this. So this would mean that they were seeing the global warming during the time of Muhammad, right?
Yeah. It's all the global warming is not a one-time phenomena. It's happened before too. Before happened this. This is not the first time a global warming happening, but it's happened before too. And we know a lot of cities under the water. If you go to seas,
we don't know.
There are many cities under the water. So where that happened? It's happened before. So
yeah, let me just briefly mention what happens when you read this in context. If you read the verse in context, talking about the people of Mecca, and Allah is telling them, don't you notice that your land is continually being reduced here? And I'll just give you. So this is Tafsir Jalalain.
No.
Tafsir Jalalain says, or is it that they, the people of Mecca, have not seen how we visit the land and how we target their land, diminishing it at its outlying regions? So they say that this is perfectly normal stuff. Let's just check with Ibn Abbas, see if he says the same thing. See they not, i.e. the people of Mecca, how we visit the land, how we seize the land, reducing it, of opening it up to Muhammad from its outlying parts. So your Muslim commentators, they say that what this is referring to when it says, do you not see how your land is being reduced? You're saying this is talking about global warming in the future. They said it's just talking to the unbelievers. Hey, don't you realize how you're fighting Islam and your land keeps getting reduced?
Do you see what you're doing to us, Akhi? Do you see?
Yeah, he said to remove the words in the parentheses, but if you put those there, it makes it clear what it's saying. Reducing the land of the disbelievers by giving it to the believers.
No, it doesn't.
So not global warming, James?
I don't personally think so.
I don't see global warming. It's not in context.
It says what the Tafsir said too.
Who cares about context nowadays, right?
He's taking the land away from
you gotta read it in context, brother.
We don't care about context on these streams, man. We just take the words for what it says. Listen, it says, see they not that we gradually reduce the land. That's obviously what happens during global warming. The land is received. Matter of fact, that's also what happened. Isn't that what happened when the continents kind of split? You know what I'm saying? And the land was reduced and separated. Guys, come on. This is so obvious. It happened multiple times. This is a multi event.
Don't say guys, because it's not everyone. It's just this guy.
This used as an argument for scientific.
It says it clearly what it's referring to.
Well, he said he came up with it himself, so I wouldn't expect.
This was a personal discovery that he got from personal hikmah and wahi. For you guys to say otherwise, lana ta'ala on the liar.
I have an observation that's a little bit.
That'd be him though. That wouldn't be on us. That would just be on him. Okay, we don't agree with it.
All right,
I have a land observation that's even better than that one.
Okay, go ahead.
It's if you count the number of times land occurs in the Quran.
Dead.
Oh, yeah,
12.
yeah.
You heard this one? You guys heard this?
Yes.
This is a very popular mathematical, but go ahead. The audience may not.
Again, I'm not calling it a miracle. It's just a personal observation that
you're not calling it a miracle because it isn't one. So just stop it.
I already said it's not a miracle. I said it's an observation.
You're right. It's not a miracle.
Before you go, James,
Before
you go, James, I just have to make sure before we continue on.
Yeah.
Muhammad, are you sure that you're a Muslim?
Of course I'm not. I'm Christian. Jesus is God. Come on.
See,
it was all a joke.
It's a joke. See, they're gonna accuse me. They're accusing
really
me
funny.
of paying you. Yeah.
Well, you exposed him.
He didn't pay me, guys. He didn't pay me.
What?
You didn't pay me.
He wasn't paid.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to move you down.
Here, we're all laughing because
are you a Muslim or
you're
not?
actually a Muslim, and now you're not. So
no, I'm Muslim. Yes.
You are Muslim.
I'm confused.
Is Muhammad a true? All right, you gotta go, bro.
No, I am. I'm in Islam.
He's playing games, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was so much less.
You
fun,
watched
man.
that?
He had me
Wow.
fooled. He had
Guys,
me
I mean, I mentioned over these past 2 weeks, it's like for the past couple of decades, at least one of, I mean, you're talking top 2 or 3 most common arguments we get for Islam was the scientific miracles, and one of the other most popular arguments was the miraculous perfect preservation of the Quran, dot for dot, letter for letter, no variance anywhere. And over the past few years, Muslim da'is have acknowledged that these are completely bogus arguments. And so we understand that there are still lots of Muslims who believe in these arguments. So we say, okay, well, for those of you who don't agree with the Muslims who are saying that these arguments have been debunked or that someone was lying about these things, what do you have? And I don't know. We get a lot of people agreeing with us that the arguments have been debunked. A lot of people agreeing with Ali Dawah. And then we get an occasional, how could Allah have known that skin, that you feel pain in your skin or something like that. And I don't know. I feel like we're being pretty generous here by letting this go through. But
no, I agree. But I do think there's something hidden in there, but it hasn't been discovered yet. Just by analyzing it, like I said, with the observation, you guys heard the one where I think the number of times land occur versus sea is the 71 to 29% difference, which is pretty much the composition of the water.
Yeah, so that one I know for a fact is based on manipulation of the numbers. There's no reasonable way to count the occurrences to get those percents.
I think it is. I can actually give you the words and the verses that they occur in. The ayahs that they occur in. Again, I think it's a miracle.
You can give me the list, but to me, every time I've looked at it, it seems to be completely arbitrary which ones count and which ones don't. There's multiple words that can mean land. There's multiple words that can mean water, and they're picked and choose to get the result you want, and then you ignore certain forms of the word on top of it. So,
if you want to take a look at it, I can give them to you right now. Now, I admit. Well, let's make one observation. For land, it's cut and dry. There are exactly.
Got to wrap this up soon, too, guys.
Okay, exactly 12 occurrences of land. Now with sea, you get different words, but they have different meanings. Whether it's 2 seas or 1 sea.
Yeah. So can you give me one of the land verses?
Okay.
So I can look at the Arabic.
Okay.
Can I ask a question while you're doing that? Are we discussing if I came to the stream late, so I apologize. You guys been here for a while. Are we saying that there is no scientific miracles in the Quran at all, or are we saying that it is very hard for a man in the desert 1400 years ago to know specific things that would be hard for him to know?
We're saying that for the past few decades, the scientific the claim has been, there are variations of it, but the main gist of the argument is that there's information, there are scientific statements in the Quran that could not have been known at the time of Muhammad and have only been found out more recently. And so this is a kind of scientific confirmation that the Quran must come from God, because where else would Muhammad have gotten that? And so that's been a claim since the 1970s, and then the 70s, and then the 80s and the 90s. By the 90s, it's, Ahmed Deedat and Zakir Naik have carried this around the world. And then about 10 years ago, Hamza Tsortsis, a Muslim who used to use this argument, he came out and said, he published a paper, then he did some videos on it. He said that this argument has been debunked because in order to defend it, you'd have to show, one, that the science is right and science changes. Two, you'd have to show this is what the Quran is actually saying. So you can't just say, when the Quran says 7 heavens, it means 7 layers of the atmosphere. And so you have to actually show that that is what the Quran is saying. You're not putting that in there. And then on top of that, you'd have to show that there would be no people before Muhammad or during Muhammad's time didn't know this. You'd have to defend all of these claims. And then Hamza Tsortsis and then Ali Dawa more recently said, in effect, we don't have anything that meets those criteria. So we can't actually claim that this is miraculous scientific knowledge. They believe that it's accurate. They believe that it's accurate knowledge and information and so on, but nothing you can point to as some sort of miraculous scientific confirmation of Islam. So they're saying
accurate, would that be good enough though, or does it have to be something that no one else has heard before? He's the first one to say it. And
if you want, I will agree there are accurate scientific claims in the Quran. I agree with that. With that. The claim is there anything where we can look at and we can say there's no place other than Allah that could have come from? Therefore, this is miraculous. Because any book is going to contain some scientifically correct information. If you just talk about a moon, okay, there is a moon. That's correct. You're correct that there is a moon.
Right, but the moon reflecting light, that's pretty impressive for a man 1,400 years ago.
Except it doesn't say that. It doesn't actually say that though.
I'm pretty sure the one in Surah Al-Furqan says that. But the one I wanted to ask about was the one in Surah An-Nur, ayah 45, where everything comes from water, and then the animals, defines all the animals that come from water. Did you guys discuss that one already?
We discussed that the first week. We have no problem revisiting it again.
Okay, I appreciate that. What was your argument?
Can I ask a quick question though?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you had said that you had discussed, what about the things that are accurate? My question to you would be, what if there are things that are inaccurate? Can inaccurate scientific assertions be from God?
Well, here's the thing is, you guys are believers of a scripture of sorts, right? You guys are Christians.
We believe in the original Quran.
No. What does that mean?
It means that we believe in the original Quran that affirms the Torah and the Gospel, not the tampered with today.
Okay, that's a different discussion, I think, but
it is.
But you guys believe in the scripture, and first you believe in the words of the scripture, and then you fall in love with the other aspects of it. Like, for instance, like a lot of the Christian stuff, first you fall in love with Jesus, and then you go back into the Old Testament and discover things that you're like, oh, I didn't notice this stuff. And then you fall more into faith with that. I don't know if anyone's saying that, because the Quran says so-and-so, you have to believe this. There's only no other way. This has to be from God. I think the whole underlying premise is believe there's only one God, believe that the prophet is a prophet, and follow the way. It's not saying from science, this is the only way. But anyway, the question I wanted to ask was the 45
But you're missing my... you didn't answer my question, though, because my question was, if there are things that are inaccurate, can it still be from God?
The book is not a book of science, so it's a book of literature.
But is God going to reveal things that are false?
No. But then you'd have to ask, how is the messaging in such and such a verse portrayed? Because
but Allah himself claims to have revealed things that are false.
What ayah are we talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I know where she's going.
Well, for example, and they plan to.
I feel like you're doing the cookie crumbs, and I'm trying to call you, trying to get me to trap.
Trying to get you to eat.
That was all they're revealing.
Crumbs, you know what I'm saying? Sorry, go ahead.
What?
No, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
But also, as far as like embryology and stuff goes, sure, we can dismiss that as a scientific miracle, but it's also worse than that. It's scientifically inaccurate. It's scientifically falsifiable.
But I think
so
David,
even just pulling up a miracle as an example.
yeah, but I think David described that one better. The verse is about resurrection. So if you were that insignificant from the beginning, which is amazing because David explained it way better than I've heard anyone else explain, is if how could you disbelieve in resurrection when you came from a small clot and you came from something that was so insignificant and then you became something? Why would you disbelieve that you could be raised again? So I think it's more of a play on literature than it is like this is how specifically scientifically you're formed. Like you're talking the blood clot, the one in Surah, what's the Surah? Surah Hajj, right?
Yeah, I think we all agree that it should not be used for argument for the religion.
Allah no, what's the ayah?
Sorry, you can go ahead with your question. I just wanted to establish, though, if there are things that are found in the Quran that are false, I think that is a reason to consider that it might not be from God.
Do you mind if I just look at that verse? No, I like what you were saying. I just want to visit that verse. Oh, humanity, if you don't believe in the resurrection, know that we did create you from dust and then from sperm, then engulfed you with blood and then flesh. So it's more about how could you believe that we can't resurrect you when we built you from such a small, little, insignificant thing? So it's not really, hey, look at this as an embryology, but more like you came from an embryo. How can you dispute with us, the creator of this? So it's more about literature.
Before you continue, science on that. I want to ask David and Thaddeus y'all's view on this, like, because so obviously that's what he's saying, and he's like, it's not a truth claim of embryology, but more so a claim of look at how amazing God is. He did this, so why would you doubt? Type of thing. Now, with that understanding, does it still cause a problem if with the statement that it makes, it inaccurately describes an event like an embryo? Like if it inaccurately describes it, yet that's not the purpose of the text, is that still a gripe against it?
I would say you could view it that way, but you don't have to. In other words, is it still a problem? Right. So I look at this. Is it still a problem? I look at this as, I mean, think about this. Muhammad is responding to people of his time going, what? Resurrection? That's stupid. Come on, man. You die, you stay dead. Come on. God's going to put us together, put us back together and so on. And so even if you're, even if it's wrong that human beings go through a blood clot stage and so on, that is perhaps how they understood this at the time, right? Just based on miscarriages and so on. We know that's how the word was used to refer to it, because it looks like blood clots coming when someone has a miscarriage. So they're thinking of this terms in terms of biological development and so on. So the real question is, could God make a point using things that people believed but were not really scientifically accurate, right? Like, can God say, like, you guys believe this, you guys believe that this is how it works. And so based on what you guys believe about how this works, and some of it accurate and some of it maybe not accurate, how can you, based on what you already know and believe, how can you doubt the resurrection when what happens when a baby's being formed is every bit as amazing as a resurrection? So how can you do that? So I mean, if you think about during the time, people saying, hey, resurrection, that's stupid. And then Muhammad says, hey, I've got a revelation here. And the revelation is, how can you use that as an excuse, thinking this is just absurd? Even what you guys believe about how a baby is formed is at least as amazing as something like a resurrection. So why would you have a problem? The God who makes the baby, why would you not believe that he could raise the dead? So something along those lines. And so that's gonna be like a personal preference. If you say no, if God is trying to make that point, he still has to be giving completely accurate scientific information. Or are you saying, look, the point stands either way. The point, even if the details aren't perfect, the point still remains. And so I think that's kind of personal matter there.
So with the Muslim claim, it's that this is literally God speaking. It's literally God speaking. And so and he can't be inaccurate. He can't make any mistakes. And so, like for me, it's like, okay, I see the point that there's a point being made with the verse. There's a point being made, but if within that point there's some inaccuracies, and this is literally God speaking from, it's His point of view and everything like that, then for me it's still a problem for me, because it's literally God's supposed to be speaking and giving this beautiful example. But I see how it goes. I see how it goes both ways.
No, but my point is, I think David hit it on the nose. In miscarriages, you see blood clots, so you see like a small thing come out, and you see a lump of flesh. So to them, this is the best way to describe it to a bunch of desert Arabs who can't fathom a resurrection. The biggest thing half the Quran talks about is a resurrection. You will be resurrected out of the dead and be held into account for what you're doing. So to explain it to something that they can visibly see in their animals, in their women, is the best way to describe it to them. Because otherwise, if you start describing it in words that they don't understand, the message is not going to get across. So for that verse, I don't see it being an error, because I guess some people decided to take it as an embryonic stages. But to me, it makes perfect sense if I'm trying to describe. The whole verse starts from, how could you be in doubt of the resurrection if you've been made from such and such and such and such? So Ellie, I think Ellie. Yeah, I don't see how it's inaccurate in that one.
And just so you know, Coffee and Tea, I said this is kind of a matter of personal preference, because I can see someone saying exactly what Avery said, saying, hey, if Allah says, how can you doubt the resurrection when this happens? I understand Avery saying, well, then what Allah says happens should be completely accurate information. But I also see the other side, meaning, well, the entire point of the verse is, look, here's this stuff that you guys are aware of. How could you doubt the resurrection? I actually am totally okay with that view. In other words, if it were not people using this as a scientific miracle, I would have zero problem with that verse. Even with the statement about a blood clot and so on, I would not use that as any sort of problematic verse for the Quran. I would say, okay, whatever's happening, there's an actual point being made, and the point is an actual decent one.
And I agree with that. Swag Osiris Rex.
What? Swagasaurus, man. Put some respect on his name, man.
Oh, my bad. Swagasaurus Rex. But did you guys discuss?
You're still left with a big issue with that, because if it's all based, you're still left with a big issue. If it's based all off of just Allah trying to communicate this to other people that may not have a good understanding of how embryology works, where would they have gotten this flesh being added to bone?
They've seen miscarriages, they've seen animals, they've cut up animals, they've cut up humans, so they would have seen something.
Yeah, but when would they have seen the bones without the flesh in a miscarriage?
Hold on, let me see the verse again.
The answer is they wouldn't have.
No, hold up.
Well, he's gonna. Yeah, he wants to see the verse to make sure that's what it's actually saying. I think that's fair.
أيها الناس إن كنتم في ريب من البعث فإنا خلقناكم من تراب ثم من نطفة ثم من علقة ثم من نطفة. Which are you talking about? The one in Surah Al-Hajj, ayah number 5, number 22?
23:14.
Sorry.
23, ayah 14.
Oh, okay, hold up. Different. 23. Surah Al-Mu'minun. 14. Okay, I was at the one at Surah Al-Hajj. That's the bigger one. ثم خلقناكم نطفة علقة فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما. Okay, so then it developed a clean blot and then developed into a clot blot.
Wow, you read Arabic. That's amazing.
I'm not an Arab, so thank you.
Oh.
Well, then that's even more impressive.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's why I believe the Quran is miraculous, because I don't speak a lick of Arabic, but I can understand this.
I heard that.
Okay, so it says that so we created the clot and then developed it into a lump of flesh and then developed the lump into bones. So and then clothed the bones with flesh. So there's an extra layer of I don't know the details of that ayah, but from the way I understand it is that it's there's little bit of there's blood, there's flesh, and then the flesh is coated again. The bones are coated again with flesh, and then we brought into a new creation, which again makes the point
that's
of
not accurate at all.
ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة. So you created from the drop.
He wasn't saying that your interpretation was inaccurate. He was saying that it was scientifically inaccurate.
That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Scientifically,
we covered the bones with flesh. If you're saying that this is just, it's Allah trying to basically dumb down his speech in order to make it something that the people could swallow, that the people could understand, then the lump would make sense in that context, if that's the meaning of it. But then this additional spot where it says that the lump is made into bone, and then we cover the bone with flesh. That's the part that wouldn't make sense, because at no point would a miscarriage have shown that in any animal or human being, for that matter. That's biologically just not happening.
This is areas of embryology that I have no knowledge about, so I don't even know how to. For me, it's the understanding
embryology.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is pretty basic embryology.
Yeah, I don't know anything about embryology, so I know nothing about biology.
Even I'm wondering, like, is there something they would have viewed as bones? In other words, if they're trying to put a sequence in their minds based on things they've witnessed, like I don't know.
At no point, unless you're talking about some.
No, I understand what you. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I don't understand where the argument is, though. That's what I.
The argument
well, he's Derek is pointing out that if we're saying that this was based on observation, Derek's pointing out that there's no place where you would observe bones being formed before flesh, and therefore it doesn't even sound like it's based on the observations of the time. Whereas I'm thinking in terms of, well, is there something they might have seen in a miscarriage that they might have thought of as bones? I don't know. So yeah,
but
just as a background, I have dealt with multiple miscarriages of multiple different types. Yes.
Yeah, he has farm animals.
Oh, okay.
Yes, multiple. So I would be familiar if there would be at some point. I could definitely say, if, like you were saying, it's being dumbed down, the clot would make sense with miscarriages. I could see that just being a lump of flesh. I could see that being a misunderstanding or of the people that he's talking to. But the bones, at no point
you're talking about the order.
Fetal development of any animal that I've ever dealt with, and I've dealt with quite a few of them, or humans for that matter, is bone just exposed on its own. That doesn't happen.
That's not how I understand the eye. The eye is from the way I understand it. It's not a sequence of things. It's this is what we did, and then we clothed it all into what's it called? We had the bone, and then we clothed it all with flesh. So I don't see it as a sequence.
Sorry, you even said then, which makes it a sequence.
No, because in the beginning I thought it was. Then I went back.
Translations used then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened.
Yeah. So how would you translate the thumma, the repeated thumma there?
No, but ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة. There's no thumma in between. The thumma is in the beginning.
Oh, it doesn't.
There's more than one thumma in the verse.
The thumma is only in the beginning.
I'm not understanding what you're saying by in the beginning. I'm not understanding what you mean by beginning, I guess, because there's multiple thummas in the verse. It's the beginning of a phrase. Which two things are you saying are one?
There's only two thummas in the ayah that I'm seeing. There's ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا المضغة علقة فكسوناه. So ثم خلقنا المضغة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه لحما آخر. So the thumma is in the end and in the beginning. It's not in the middle. This is just an explanation of how things are. But that's, you know what? It's up to interpretation, and if that's how you see it, that's how you see it. I don't see it as an order of sequence. Again, I see the thumma in the beginning and then the thumma in the end, and in the middle, it's just an explanation of how things are. But
So,
this isn't the ayah I wanted to discuss. I don't have as much knowledge to it. Sorry, go ahead.
This is.
Can you tell me? Can we tell me what verse?
This should
we're
be up to him as far as
I think we're. Yeah, I think we're.
Yeah, this should be up to him.
Huh?
Which
one?
Surah Mu'minun, ayah 14.
What we're talking about.
Did you say 23:14? Sorry.
Yeah, 23:14.
Yeah, okay.
There's
I just
only
want to
two
get the verse for my own
thumbas, and
reference.
the stuff
We
in the
don't have to
middle
discuss it
isn't a
anymore.
thumma.
I just want to get it for my own reference. You said you wanted to bring a different verse, though. So what did you?
He wanted to talk about the water, and this will be
Yeah.
the last one, guys. So let's address this water. Everything was made from water.
Yeah,
every
we don't have to be
living
quick
thing was
because
made from
No,
water.
yeah,
past
every
the
living
time.
thing. Wallahu
Yeah.
khalaqu kulla dabbatin min ma'. Surah An-Nur, ayah 45. But back to that Surah Al-Mu'minun verse, I don't see it as an order except the end. In the beginning it says Thumma, and in the end it says Thumma. In the middle,
Yeah, you're correct.
Honestly.
You're correct. In 23:14, there's only 2 thumas.
Thumma,
But,
so it's not an order of sequence.
It
It's
does
just this is
show a
things.
progression, though, because it says that we made the
but
storm
it-
drop
and,
into a clinging clump, and then made the clump into a lump, and then the lump
But that's the English. The
into
Arabic
bone.
doesn't say that.
And are you questioning this translator?
That's
Are you saying you
for
know
people who
Arabic
don't
better
know the
than this
verse.
translator
That's how
does?
it's. Sorry.
Well,
Are you questioning the authenticity of this translator?
The thumma starts off in the previous verse. It's so, I mean, you go back to verse 12. It's Allah did this, and it's thumma in verse 13, and then you get more thummas in verse 14. So the only thing we're wondering is how you're translate. If it's not then, as translators typically go with, what else is it?
Yeah.
It's just things that are being done. This is just. It's not telling you it's done this way, and then this is done, and then this is done. It's just saying God
Are you
does
saying
this.
this all happens simultaneously?
It doesn't say
Because that
how
would
it's
also
done.
be incorrect.
I mean, it would have to either be a sequence or simultaneously. And I think he's saying that the verse isn't clear, that it could be either way. I think is what he's saying.
I don't think the point of the verse
either
is to
way,
tell
you
you
look
that.
at it, both are incorrect.
Sorry.
Guys, we gotta wrap this.
Yeah.
We gotta wrap this up. We gotta wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up. And coffee and tea. I that other one, the Two Waters, one of my favorites. I'll be happy to discuss it in our time. But I know David has to go. Avery wants to go. So I have work in the morning.
Guys, and I'm glad I got on. And
I got one more for a later date too. A nice one as far as good observation. No, the observation is pretty good.
Yeah, go ahead and give it. We won't respond, but
okay, yeah. Check this one out. That is in Surah the Cave, where it talks about the 7 sleepers. It says and asks how long did they remain. Some say 300 and some add 9. Of course, the difference with adding the 9 years is transferring from lunar to solar, from solar to lunar years. And then if you count the words from the first word that asks how long they remain to the second, it is exactly 309 words. Just another, like I said, observation. So check that out if you ever have some.
I will definitely check that out, see if it holds up to scrutiny. But the main point with these mathematical things is you can.
Yeah, we already
the more
said
patterns
that.
you look at, the more you find that are interesting.
Right.
So.
And I do study in great detail. But what got me to become Muslim is the simple message that there is no God but God. That's all I needed. I didn't need any mathematical or scientific miracles.
All right. Next time I talk to you, we're going to get into that, James.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. With that being said, I want to thank everyone for coming through. I want to thank David Wood, thank Thaddeus L. late, and your brother in Christ, y'all late. Saeed, he jumped in a little bit. James, of course, my favorite guest of all time. Still a fan favorite, channel favorite. Thank you, everyone, for the super chats, for the gifts, for your prayers. Thank you all. It's not super easy to do this all the time. We've been on a run, and I've been streaming like almost every day. So
you've been putting in work.
Yeah. Glory to God. All glory to God. So yeah, we're getting busy, man. Might see me tomorrow too. Who knows? Might see my chocolate face tomorrow. But with that being said, sorry, James, but I got to tell the truth, man. You got to stay away from Islam, man. Got to stay away from Islam.
Come on in.
All right. We'll talk
peace.
about that. Peace. Stay away from Islam. There's only one God who is triune, and Jesus Christ died for your sins. He's the only way to the Father by the Spirit who reconciles us back to God. With that being said, peace. We're out of here.